Chapter 16-7. Today was the day. Today was team assignments. After the pitiful test that was designed to weed out the worst of the worst yesterday, today he would be assigned to a team and start his ninja career. Itachi and Makoto both explained to him that teamwork was necessary throughout his career, even if he was teamed with someone he didn't like. They both told him what to expect for the first 2 to 3 months as a Gen and D ranked missions, nothing more than garden chores that civilians are too lazy to do themselves. He had already deduced from his class that he would be on a team with his cousin and his fangirl, which could prove disastrous or could prove to be one of the best teams to ever come out of Konoha if trained properly. He figured that he would be part of a combat team because he had skills in most ninja arts, while Sasuke would be the close-distance fighter with taijutsu and Sakura would be the medic with the possibility of a genjutsu user. Kiba Inuzuka and Ata Hyuga and Shino Aburame would all for a scout and capture team. Each had a bloodline. The Aburame and Inuzuka limits may not be well known and may be considered clan jutsu, but they were Kekkei Genkai all the same, and with all three of them combined they would make an ideal scouting team, with the option of capture and ambush. He took a rough guess and came up with the second generation of the Ino Shikacho trio that was so popular in the Third Great Shinobi War due to their teamwork that would specialize in capture and field interrogation. These teams would work in tandem to protect the lives of Konoha's citizens. If he had to guess about the team senseis, then it would be Kakashi for his team due to the fact that he is one of the only Sharingan left in Konoha, and his brother refused to teach him until he dropped his thirst for revenge, and he was his father's student, not to mention he knew of Naruto's Sharingan. Speaking of Sharingan, he wasn't quite sure how to work around that one. Sasuke would find out sooner or later and would be pissed, not to mention his is fully matured and has a Mangekyo which he wasn't even sure Sasuke knew about. He knew about the Mangekyo techniques that cost the user's eyesight per use. His brother snuck him into the meeting room of the Uchiha clan to read the tablet that was left by his ancestors. He was visibly annoyed by the fact that it basically goaded the Uchiha into killing their best friends for power. He had used each technique once just to see how to use them and was already starting to get annoyed with his eyesight. It appeared that the techniques deteriorated the eyes faster than anybody realized. At this rate, if he used them a couple more times, then he would have to swap his eyes with his brother, which, if he was honest, he wasn't wanting to do because it meant that he may become reliant upon his Mangekyo. He decided to take the wait and see approach, and if needed he would get the transplant before the Chunin exams in just over 9 months. Walking towards the academy for team placements, he left a few clones at home to start his fire manipulation training like he did with his lightning. He was rather happy with his progress in the ninja arts. Before he knew it, he was at the academy in front of his classroom door. He sighed. Whilst he may have been cold and calculating to the majority of people like his older brother, he was a kind person at heart, and few in the academy knew that because they had made friends with him. Shino Aburame, Kiba Inuzuka, albeit partially, and Ata Hyuga. All three of these were what he would consider friends. The last one was a request from Karina. She explained that her father was an asshole, and she needed more confidence. He of course knew she had a crush on him. He wasn't an oblivious fool that he portrayed to the world. He used this to get her to become more confident. Whilst it would end up breaking her heart sooner or later, by then she would hopefully have enough confidence to stand on her own without him helping. He just hoped that she would go crazy ex-girlfriend mode and try to kill him. That would be bad. He decided to once again take the wait and see approach. When it came to her, he didn't want to harm her, but she needed to learn on her own. Sighing, he took his seat by the window and waited for everyone to arrive at class when suddenly a loud boom was here, and lo and behold, there on the floor were Sasuke's two biggest fangirls, Sakura Haruno and Ino Yamanaka. "I win, Ino pig. You right, forehead." Sasuke Kyuin, they both screeched at the top of their voices. He wasn't sure why they were like this. He was one of the last Sharingan users in Konoha. He would be required to take multiple lovers, /wives/ girlfriends in the future. Maybe they didn't know? Oh well, he may dislike his cousin, but he didn't hate him enough to force that hell upon him. He shivered just thinking about it. Poor bastard. 10 minutes later, and Iruka walked into the room. Yet another person Naruto considered a friend, one of the few that didn't hate him for what he contained, or at least was professional enough to work around it, for the sake of the other kids. He liked him for that, and he respected him for it as well. Alright class, settle down. Kids were still shouting about how awesome they were going to be as ninja, and he finally got tired with the developing tick mark above his head. He used his own personal jutsu called Demon Head no Jutsu to make the class quiet down. Now, before I read out the team selection sheets, may I say that I am proud to have taught each and every one of you, even if some of you were a pain in the neck most of the time. Oddly enough, most people were looking at himself when Iruka said this. I wasn't that bad, was I? Continuing on, teams 1 through 6 are still in rotation from last year. Team 7 is Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, and Sakura Haruno. Sakura screamed about true love conquering all or something whilst Naruto was repeatedly banging his head on the desk whilst saying "Why me Gigi? Is this payback for teaching Konohamaru that jutsu?" I said I'm sorry, as he cried anime tears of pain. Little did he know though that all the Jonin senseis were in the Hokage's office with the old man and his crystal ball that he uses to spy on his villagers to make sure they aren't doing anything bad. Kakashi smirked at Naruto's antics. "Ugh, Hokage-sama, what jutsu is he talking about?" Kurina asked, actually concerned about his grandson. "Oh, nothing that you need to know, Kurina. You would most definitely kill him, and from what I understand he gets on quite well with you, am I right? So no need to tell you." He winked at her. "Kakashi, you're going to have your hands full this year. If they pass. I'm feeling good about my team this year, Asuma." Back in the classroom, Naruto was finished banging his head repeatedly and getting his sympathy pats on the back from his friends when Iruka carried on. Team 8 is Hinata, Hyuga, Shino, Aburame, and Kiba Inuzuka. Naruto sighed, that wouldn't be a bad team to work with. Team 9 is still in rotation from last year, and Team 10 is Ino, Yamanaka, Shikamaru, Nara, and Choji Akimichi. Wait here until your senseis come. With that, he disappeared in a shunshin. In the office, the Jonin were getting ready to depart when Kakashi sat down on the chair and started reading his book. Kurina smacked him on the head. "You better not turn Naruto into a pervert, or so God help me." "Isn't he a bit young for you, Kurina?" "What? I mean, isn't he a bit young to be your boyfriend?" She was spluttering whilst Asuma and Hiruzen watched on an amusement. Truth be told, she and Asuma had a few dates here and there, but it led nowhere and she was getting tired of it. She had agreed to have a date with Naruto when he was a chunin because he was kind and generous, but she liked the fact that he would go out of his way to help someone precious to him. "He's not my boyfriend," said a red-faced Kurenai. "Yet?" She didn't even dignify that with a response and shunched into the class to get her team whilst Kakashi and Asuma burst out laughing. "She is going to kill me one day, isn't she?" "Yep. And if she doesn't, Naruto will beat me up because I'm being mean to her, right?" "Yep. Am I screwed?" "Yep." "Oh well, I suppose it's time to get lost on the road to life." He disappeared in a standard leaf shunshin only to reappear 3 hours later in the classroom. "Yo! You're late!" The pink-haired thing known as Sakura shouted. "I wasn't told what time to arrive at, so how could I be late?" She just shut up at that. "Meet me on the roof in 5 minutes." He shunched into the roof and waited. As soon as Naruto's 2 teammates were out the door, he vanished in a flock of crows only to reappear on the roof with Kakashi watching in amusement. "So you know Itachi's crow shunshin?" Naruto snorted. "Who do you think taught it to him?" "What do you mean?" asked Kakashi, generally surprised. He thought Itachi made it since he was rather famous for it. "Who do you think taught him it?" "It is Genjutsu with Shunshin no Jutsu. I taught him how to do them together." Before he could respond, Dumb and Dumber walked through the door to the roof. "Okay, tell me about yourselves." "What do you mean, sensei?" asked the so-called smartest girl in the new generation. They were doomed. Kakashi just flipped a page in his book and looked up. "How do you say something?" Sakura and Sasuke face faulted whilst Naruto was laughing up a storm inside. He always liked how Kakashi could rile up anyone by doing nothing. "Tell me about yourself, name, likes, dislikes, and anything else you find important, like your dream. And since you asked, you can go first, Pinky." "My name is Sakura Haruno. I like my dreams," or she said whilst looking at Sasuke the entire time. "And your dislikes?" "Naruto Baka." "Oh, how will I live with myself?" "I know how, because I don't give a shit." Sakura just glared at him whilst Kakashi just smiled at him. "Broody MC Brooder." "Sasuke Uchiha, no likes, and I dislike everything. My dream, no, my ambition is to kill Danzo for what he did to my clan and surpass my brother." Naruto and Kakashi just sighed, expecting as much, but were quite surprised at the last bit, especially Naruto, because his brother hadn't informed him of his brother's dream to beat him. Sakura in her normal fangirl waist squealed like a pig. And lastly, the one that looks normal. Everyone turns to Naruto whilst he just looked bored and didn't respond. 2 minutes passed and still nothing, so they asked again, and his simple response was, "Huh, did you say something?" Kakashi was crying anime tears at the fact that his sensei's son was embracing the cool and hip attitude whilst Sasuke and Sakura were fuming. Oh well, my name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Uchiha. I like a lot of things including my friends and precious people and my ramen. No one touches my ramen, or they die. Unfortunately, my precious people have seen fit to cut down on my ramen intake, which I dislike completely. I dislike people who label prodigies and geniuses because they tend to take the easy way out of things instead of working for it. Anyone can be a prodigy, but that gathers too much attention to be a ninja means. To hide in the shadows, we deceive, lie, cheat, and steal to get the job done. Dreams? To one day have a family, help my precious people achieve their own dreams, make Hokage, and I'm supposed to live long enough to see my friends and their families live a happy and eventful life whilst protecting them the best I can. Sakura and Sasuke were looking at him in a new light. This wasn't the dead last of their class. What had happened to him? Kakashi smiled behind his mask. He expected something like this, but didn't expect it to be so detailed. Good, good. Meet me at Training Ground 7 and 5 a.m. tomorrow morning for the test. What test, Sensei? We already passed the academy. I suppose you're right, but this is a test to see if you can cut it as a Jin and not graduate the academy. Don't eat breakfast or you will simply be sick. Before anyone could ask any questions, he shunshined away. Naruto just waited for them to leave and also shunshined, but to a nearby roof where Sensei was waiting. Ah, so you came. You know they won't work with me, right? So you know the test. How long have I known you, Kakashi? What did you drill into my head whenever we trained together? Teamwork. The test will most likely incorporate this, and they won't work with me. However, you will be forced to pass us anyway. And why is that? Because if you don't, the council will give you hell for failing the last Uchiha. Amazing they don't consider Itachi an Uchiha just because he isn't able to be molded into their little pet that they want, isn't it? This test is a farce, and you know it. Sai, you're right. I am being forced to pass the team and focus on Sasuke's training. We both know that you don't need much training, and we don't even know your real speed, since you have never released the resistance seal on you. Speaking of which, do you know how to? Yes, I know how to, but I've never really found a situation that requires it at the moment. I will have to release it before our first mission outside the village to get used to the new speed. My chakra weights are up to 100 kg now. It took some time to get past 70, and I'm slowly adjusting to the weight each time, and it takes longer each time as well. How much skill do you want me to show? Hi Genin / Lo Chunin. We don't want Sasuke getting jealous now, do we? Naruto snorted. When he awakens his Sharingan, you will have your hands full, and the council will try to make you shove your techniques down his throat until he knows them all. Agreed. I won't teach him any personal jutsu on principle because he is just too unstable. Good, sooner or later he will want to fight me, and I don't particularly like the idea of being run through with a Chidori enhanced fist by some genin who got a sneaky shot from behind. Kakashi nodded and took out a scroll from his chest pouch. Speaking of Chidori, congratulations. I told you when you graduated I would give you some jutsu as a special congratulations, and since we have this situation with the council, that will help you even more now. Chidori is in there. I don't have to tell you not to use it on comrades ever, right? Of course, Kakashi-sensei. What do you take me for? Just saying. Now, is there anything else? My Sharingan, sooner or later I will need to use it. What will I do? You don't depend on it that much for fighting. You made that taijutsu style that is deadly, and you already know quite a few jutsu that are mastered to a high degree, so you should be fine. But if you need it, then hide it under a powerful genjutsu or make sure Sasuke and Sakura are knocked out. When we eventually fight outside the village, feel free to use it to copy enemy jutsu, and even mine, since I can't teach you properly due to the council. Hi sensei, see you tomorrow. And with that, Naruto disappeared with the crows. He could make anything with a shunshin, to be honest. Since it was a genjutsu, he was just waiting to see an awanin, to make it a flash of yellow like his father, to just make them shit themselves. It would be hilarious. Arriving at home, he sees Makoto in the garden doing one of her favorite pastimes nowadays, which is gardening, since she didn't leave the house that often. He smiled. She always seemed so happy these days. Since the massacre, it made him feel bad that she was so sad when she was in the Uchiha clan. He hoped that one of these days, when he was powerful enough to protect her, that she could come out and come clean to the village, showing that she was still alive. He was waiting for that day. It wasn't fair that she had to change herself to hide. Walking up to her, he gave her a hug. Kaa-san, I was placed on Sasuke's team with his most loyal fangirl and Kakashi. When she heard this, she sighed. She knew just how much her son hated Sasuke, but he tried multiple times to make friends and steer him from revenge for her sake. It seemed like a lost cause, to be honest, but he didn't give up. Do your best, Sochi. I know you can work past the fangirl and Sasuke to become a great ninja. Thanks Kaasan Kakashi is being forced by the civilian council to pass the team because of Sasuke and is also being forced to focus on training Sasuke but has agreed not to teach him any personal techniques such as his Chidori and Raikiri, but he gave me a scroll with some techniques since he isn't allowed to train the demon brat and he said the Chidori is in there, so I'm quite happy. She smiled. Kakashi was always a good person, and even though he wasn't allowed to train him personally like he wanted because it would pay back his debt that he felt he owed to not only Obito, but also his sensei, he still gave him some stuff to help train even if it was in secret. That old monkey probably knew he would do this, so he assigned him for this reason and more. I've agreed to only show high Genin / low Chunin skills until the Chunin exams and only use my Sharingan under a high-level Genjutsu or if Sasuke and his fangirl are knocked out. Did you look tired, Sochi? Why don't you go lay down whilst I make some dinner for us and Itachi? Hi Kaasan arigato. That was another thing, since Itachi refused to train his cousin Sasuke, practically said he didn't want anything to do with Itachi. This actually hurt Itachi pretty badly, and the civilian council seemed to forget that Itachi was heir and now clan head and not Sasuke. So at least 4 times a week Itachi would come over for dinner with his mother and brother. Sasuke lived in his own apartment that was paid for by Itachi with the clan funds. He may not act like his little brother that Itachi knew and loved, but he was still family. 6 p.m. rolled round quite fast. Because of his nap he awoke to a lovely smell of curry that filled the house and made him practically drool. He walked towards the kitchen rubbing his eyes and found Itachi at the table and Makoto at the stove. Itachi was the first to notice him and smiled at him. Hello Nisan Kaasan. Something smells good. That would be Kaasan's cooking Otudo. He smiled and sat at the table. Did Kaasan tell you about my team? Yes, she did. I know you don't like Sasuke, but please look out for him out on missions. Of course he may be a douche, but he is family even if he doesn't know it. Itachi smiled. If you pass tomorrow, then I will let you finally sign your contract from your father and enter the library, but no learning more than one thing at a time and no taking things out of the estate. He grinned and nodded furiously. He had been waiting to get into the library for 8 years now, since he first saw it when he was 5. After dinner with his mother and brother, it was getting pretty late and he wanted tomorrow to come earlier so he could leave a clone or 2 to explore the library in his stead, looking for his father's legendary scrolls for the Hiraishin and Rasengan, and went to bed ready for tomorrow. He was going to have a little fun with his sensei. Tomorrow came fast enough. He was pretty worn out recently from acting like the idiot. It was stressful to act stupid when you were quite smart, watching every word you say in case you say something that was above your supposed level. He woke up and went through the normal routine of 1-hour training, then shower and breakfast, not to mention speaking to his mother. His brother would always leave to sleep at the Uchiha compound, and he hated it. It felt like his family was split apart, and he traced the split back to the civilian council. He would need to fix this now that he was a ninja. He walked towards the training grounds where his team would meet and looked at the time. He was 3 hours late, but he didn't care. The chances were that Kakashi wasn't even there yet and wouldn't be for at least another half hour. He could see Sasuke and Sakura in the distance doing nothing but sitting down by a set of 3 wooden posts. He sighed. Ninja are proactive. If their sensei was late, then they should trust in the fact that he was late for a reason and start their own training to be ready for when the sensei arrived. He decided to skip them and stealthily go sit in a tree and relax. He liked sitting in trees when the sun shone just right through the leaves. It was a beautiful feeling, and sight had always relaxed him. Half an hour later, as predicted, Kakashi shunched into the clearing to see 2 of his team and noticed the third in a tree about 5 meters away. Ignoring the banshee scream, he just smiled. Alright, test time. Sensei Naruto Baka is missing. No, he isn't. Huh? Came the intelligent reply. He's in the tree behind you and has been for the last half hour. I was here 2 hours ago watching you all to see how you would work together. Then why the hell did you make us wait? Screamed the banshee again. I just said why. Naruto just shunched into the clearing in a normal leaf shunshin. Obviously no need to let his cousin see he can do what Itachi can, otherwise he may put 2 and 2 together. Although he would probably come out with 5, but still. How nice of you to join us, Naruto. The time is currently 9 a.m. You have till 12 to get these bells from me. The one who doesn't is getting tied to the post and forced to watch the winners eat lunch whilst getting sent back to the academy. So that is why he didn't want us to eat, thought Sasuke and Sakura at the same time. Idiots, it wasn't in order. Thought Naruto, I wonder if the new Ika is out yet. Came the obvious thoughts of Kakashi. He took out a timer from inside a scroll and placed it on the log. Go! A simple command, yet only 2 followed it. Naruto waited in the clearing smiling at his sensei. Well, aren't you an odd one? It's too boring to be normal, don't you agree, Sensei? Too true, but there are limits. Unlike Guy and Guy Jr. both shared a shiver at the thought of the green spandex-wearing duo. So what are you going to do? Wait until you knock them both the fuck out and then have some fun. Kakashi smiled. He hadn't fought Naruto since he was younger and was sure that he became more powerful in the recent years, so he quickly went away and found Sakura. He was completely annoyed by her for a simple reason. He placed her in a genjutsu of her family being slaughtered in front of her, and she breaks it instantly, but places her in a genjutsu of her Sasuke riddled with kunai and she faints. What is up with that? He finds Sasuke hiding in some bushes and figures that since he has to pass the team anyway, that it was a moot point in testing him. The reports said he had genin-level stamina taijutsu, and knew the standard Katan jutsu of the Uchiha clan, so he just knocked him out by hitting the back of his neck. Once they were both out, he carried them over to where Naruto was and tied them up against the posts. He sighed. This would be an annoying team to teach, but at least he had a competent member within the team. He looked at Naruto, smiled, and clapped his hands together. So how are we going to do this? I'll show you mine if you show me yours. He nodded and placed his book in the safety of his pouch whilst lifting his headband to reveal his implanted Sharingan, whilst Naruto activated his own 3-tomo Sharingan. All out until they wake up? He nodded once again. Naruto stopped sending chakra into his weights and stated Lesson 1, Taijutsu. Naruto sped at Kakashi with high chunin speeds, pushing low jonin, and started fighting. Kakashi was relatively familiar with his taijutsu style because he guarded him at times when he was practicing, not to mention he could see chakra transfer from the user to the intended target. That poor target dummy. He actually found a weakness in the style which allowed him to go into hand-to-hand combat with him as long as he didn't get hit by either his fists or his feet. Then Naruto didn't have enough concentration to transfer chakra from any Tenkesta point just yet, so if he blocks by the arms and redirected the attacks, then he could only be hit with brute force and not chakra like the Hyuga. He had actually came up with this just for Naruto because he knew that one day you would have to fight him, but that didn't mean that Naruto wasn't strong. Naruto was getting rather tired with Kakashi redirecting his hands and feet. When he tried to hit him, it seemed that he had been studying Naruto's style for this moment and smiled. He liked not to be underestimated by allies and enemies alike. Jumping away, he smiled at Kakashi whilst Kakashi smiled back. He was truly having some fun. This wasn't the kind of spar he got from Guy, this was the kind of spar he used to get from his sensei when they battled. The fierceness and unpredictability that Naruto provided was a wonderful change from the static and monotone style of Guy. So what will you do now, Naruto? He grinned. I figure that since I have to release them sometime, why not now, Kakashi's long eye went wide. If he was talking about what he thought, then Naruto was going to get a rather large speed boost. After all, he had the resistance seals active since birth. I don't know what current level I'm at since they go up gradually, so when I reset them I think I will start at 5 and work my way up until I feel trouble again. He sent chakra to his stomach and produced a half-ram sign for Genjutsu and said Kai. Instantly a wave of air came off him. He wondered what level they were at because he felt so light right now. Now Kakashi, shall we dance? Without waiting for another word, he sped off towards Kakashi. Once again at mid-jonin speed, Kakashi could only muster one thought before he felt his right arm go numb fast. Kakashi quickly recovered. Although he felt his right arm numb, he wasn't a jonin for nothing and could keep up with his speed thanks to his Sharingan, but he was also one of the top jonin within the village, and as such still have mid-high jonin speeds. One of Naruto's favorite tricks with ninjutsu was to use the hand seals for the jutsu so quick it looked like he hadn't moved, which was quite doable considering he had mastered most if not all his jutsu. 10 minutes later and they were both breathing hard. 2-minute break, then start lesson 2, ninjutsu. Since this is more of a test to figure out my level than the bells, we might as well do it relaxed then rush through. Don't you agree, Kakashi? Agreed. 2 minutes later and they were both breathing normally again, although Kakashi took longer since he didn't have Naruto's monster stamina. The break was more for him than Naruto and he knew it and silently thanked his little comrade for the breather. After all, having a Sharingan implant working at full speed for a non-Uchiha was a severe drain on the chakra system of its user. Shall we start again? Kakashi nodded and started through a few hand seals. He saw no reason to hold back against Naruto. He could take it, and if he did somehow get injured he would heal quickly thanks to his tenet. Raiton, Ryukin, Kakashi said whilst his fist lit up with lightning. This attack formed a dog made out of lightning from the fist, and the dog chases its target up to 10 meters away before exploding and shocking the user's opponent. Naruto, seeing this, jumps backwards by 5 meters just out of reach from the lightning hound. Oh, that's a nice technique, Kakashi. Want to see my first ever Raiton technique I made? You can use it if you have the chakra, but don't teach it to anyone and be careful not to use it around Broody so he can't steal it. Kakashi nodded. They shared jutsu sometimes because they knew they could trust each other, so it was okay. Naruto smiled and started his own hand seals for his first ever Raiten jutsu, making sure to use the full chain of seals for Kakashi's Sharingan. Raiten, Ryanzo Roa, he shouted. This was his first ever technique he made when he was 10, just after he was starting to learn how to expel large amounts of Raiten chakra. A lion formed behind him, 6 meters tall and 15 feet long. It was incredibly detailed, but before Kakashi could get a decent look at the lion, it ran at him with high chunin level speed, quite fast for most jutsu. He didn't know how far the range of this jutsu was, so he started jumping back as it reached him 15 meters away, and then jumped again and again before the lion dissipated with a large electrical current, shocking everything in its wake. Those poor bugs. Damn, that was good. Would take almost half my chakra to do that once though. Yeah, I made it when I was 10 after learning how to use large amounts of Raiten chakra. It was made to shock large groups to death, so it would use a lot of chakra, to be fair. Continuing on. Kakashi said whilst going through some hand seals. Naruto saw this and with his Sharingan produced the same seals. He hated this aspect of his dojutsu. Whilst it was okay to copy enemies, it wasn't okay to copy friends, and he knew that he did with Kakashi, but he was happy to find that it was a jutsu he already knew and had mastered to a decent degree when he was learning chakra control at an early age. Katan, Gokaku no Jutsu both shouted and launched equally sized fireballs at each other before jumping out of the way and landing in a clearing. He couldn't see Kakashi anywhere, and something felt off about this. He felt the ground rumble and knew it was one of Kakashi's favorite earth jutsu, since he had been subjected to this little useful jutsu enough when he sparred Itachi, so he listened to his instincts and jumped out of the way. Kakashi appeared out of the ground and looked at Naruto, panting a little bit. He was getting tired. He wasn't an Uchiha and Obishio's. I was using a lot of chakra to maintain. Naruto saw this and smiled. Kakashi, we both know you are getting tired, so how about we skip to lesson 3? I've shown enough competence with ninjutsu for you to rate my progress. Agreed, although I might need some help getting to the office after. Okay then, lesson 3, Jinjutsu Ninpu. Kimono no Shininryu. Kakashi was instantly frozen. He remembered this Jinjutsu from a couple years ago, and whilst he hated to admit it, this Jinjutsu was probably one of the best anyone would ever make, but it could only be utilized properly by anyone with Kage-level reserves or someone with Sannin-level chakra control and high Jonin reserves. He cursed himself for falling into this Jinjutsu, and the worst thing was that even if he did break it by causing himself pain, it didn't matter because he would simply fall for it again, since it was a later version of the Jinjutsu he created that involved a constant stream of chakra to the system, so even if it was disrupted, then it would simply start again until he let it go. Sorry, Kakashi, Naruto said and walked up to him, taking the bells away before releasing the Jinjutsu and watching Kakashi fall to his knees. He had never been under this Jinjutsu, but from what he was told, it felt like a crushing pressure due to the amount of chakra introduced to the system so quickly. Naruto helped Kakashi up and walked over to the clearing they were in earlier in their fight. Neither of them noticed that they were moving away from the clearing, and it was a good thing too, because he noticed from afar that Sasuke and Sakura had woken up. Quickly deactivating his Sharingan so Sasuke couldn't see it, he walked over with Kakashi leaning on him, his breathing steadily slowing back to its normal pace. What happened? Why am I tied to a post, and why is Sasuke-kun but not Naruto Baka? Everyone had ringing in their ears. Kakashi sighed. You two are tied because neither of you learnt the importance of the test whilst Naruto did and got the bells off me. Good work, Naruto. Arigato, Kakashi-sensei. Now explain the purpose of the test. Teamwork. No one man works alone in a team and must work together to get the job done efficiently and effectively. Kakashi nodded and Naruto threw a bell at each of their laps. You passed since Naruto gave up his bells for you, which proved teamwork. Come here in 2 days' time at 7 a.m. for team training and missions. I'm going to need the time to recover, he said with the last bit under his breath so only Naruto heard it. Naruto started to walk with Kakashi away, leaving his teammates to get untied themselves. Once out of the clearing, he shunshined to the Hokage's office and a flock of crows. In the office were all Jonin-sensei waiting for Kakashi as usual, but all of a sudden a flock of crows appeared and started to circle everyone before joining into one being. Naruto with an exhausted-looking Kakashi. Yo, sorry, I'm late. I got beat up by my student. Everyone except Kurenai, the secret Umbu, and the Hokage that knew Naruto looked at him like he was crazy. Well, I'll just wait here since I will take him to the hospital afterwards, Naruto said. Kakashi and the Hokage both nodded in acceptance. Kurenai went first. Teammate pass. Hinata Hyuga needs a major confidence boost but is skilled just too shy to actually inflict damage to an opponent, most likely due to the fact that the main house practice on the branch and she doesn't like hurting them, so it's probably force of habit by now. Kiba is a goddamn pervert. He thinks that because he is a clan heir that he is the alpha dog of the team when the other two are just as good if not better. He needs to calm down and get his hormones under control, I swear. If I catch him looking at my ass once more I will put him under a genjutsu, she said, and no one but her, the Hokage, and Kakashi heard a small growl come from Naruto. She smiled at him. Although they weren't dating, she did like the fact that he was protective of her. Shino is most likely going to be the captain of the team. He is logical like all Aburame and quite skilled in his clan jutsu, although I will need to up his training for endurance, speed, and taijutsu since his clan are mostly long-range fighters. The Hokage nodded at that. It was a decent team and fairly laid out, although Kiba worried him a little bit since something may happen on missions. Guess it's my turn, said a rather tall man in a standard Jonin uniform but with a sachet around his waist with the kanji for fire on it. He had black spiky hair and a pointy black beard. He was Asuma Sarutobi, the son of the third Hokage. I have the next generation of the Ino Shikacho trio. They pass. Ino is a fangirl of monumental proportion. It's quite sad, but she worked together with Shikamaru and Choji, so she might have some hope. And she is quite proficient in the clan jutsu. She knows she will probably make quite the interrogator when she is older. Shikamaru is the brains of the team. I suspect that he almost qualified as dead last at the academy because he thought it would be too troublesome to pass at a higher ranking. He is a hidden genius. In every sense of the word, I think he takes after his father in the thinking department. Choji is the muscle. His strength is easily higher than the rest of the team and his endurance is up there as well, but he needs to work on his speed and genjutsu since his clan is mostly nin taijutsu. Once again the Hokage nodded. He saw hope for Ino, and the second Ino Shikacho trio could prove to be extremely helpful assets in the years to come. He turned his head to Kakashi, who was still leaning on Naruto. This would be a headache from the looks of Kakashi. Team 7 pass, he said with a nice smile. Everyone looked at him shocked. Even if he looked like shit, and even if he had Naruto, they hadn't expected him to pass a team. Asuma was the most surprised since he didn't know about Naruto. Let's begin with Sakura Haruno. Who is their right mind to let this girl be a kunoichi? Did she pass the academy by paying off the instructors or something? It was ridiculous. I found her quickly and placed her under a basic genjutsu which her file says she should be able to break easily. It was her family being slaughtered in front of her and she broke it quickly, realizing it was a genjutsu, so I decided to take a different approach. I placed her in a genjutsu and she saw Sasuke, who was riddled with kunai, begging for help. She screamed and fainted. Everyone was thinking the same thing. She's going to die on her first C rank. The Hokage sighed and said continue. Sasuke was a bit better, although I still knocked him out with a quick chop to the neck. He was, as his stats said, high gen and level endurance ninjutsu and taijutsu, but I didn't check genjutsu. He smoothly lied so that he didn't have to admit that he just knocked him out so he could fight Naruto. Everyone nodded, feeling a bit better since the team wasn't a total failure. Do you want Naruto's report in present company? Yes, Asuma, whatever you hear is an S-class secret, as is most of the stuff pertaining to Naruto. Asuma sighed whilst he didn't hate the boy or have anything against him. In fact, he did understand the need for secrecy when it came to him. I used my Sharingan straight away, and we started through the principles, starting with taijutsu. I guess he disabled his weights right off the bat since he came at me with high Chunin speeds. Everyone raised an eyebrow at that. They knew he wore weights. Well, everyone except Asuma knew, but they didn't know he had progressed to such a speed already. We fought for about 10 minutes and his taijutsu style is deadly, as you already know, but it needs more refinement. I feel he could have gone further in creating it when he did, and I will help with this when I can, but the council are making me concentrate of the brooder. Anyway, after 10 minutes he jumped away and told me he was disabling his resistance seal for the first time in his life. He had never done it before, and I was instantly on guard since he would get a huge speed boost. But I didn't think it would be that much. He came at me with mid-Jonin speeds, which is really fast, and if I didn't have my Sharingan out he would have done more damage to me. He got a quick hit on my arm, making it numb, so I couldn't cast hand seals, and we continued to fight before stopping. He let me have a 2-minute breather since we were both panting heavily. 2 minutes later and we started off again, but this time on ninjutsu. I started with one of my own creations, Ryuken, and sent the lightning hound at him. He jumped back far enough so it wouldn't hit him, and then countered with a jutsu I've never seen before called Ryan's Roa, which created a 6-meter tall lion made out of lightning. It was incredibly detailed, but before I could get a proper look at it, the thing shot at me with high Chunin speed. I jumped backwards, so I was 20 meters from Naruto, and it came still, so I jumped again, and it seemed to dissipate around 25 meters, but not without shocking everything around it. I saw some poor bugs get electrocuted. We both launched fireballs at each other before I disappeared underground trying to get him with Doton, Shinjuzanshu no Jutsu, but he jumped away before I could get him. I came out of the ground panting because of the amount of chakra that was being used by my Sharingan, and Naruto suggested we move on to Genjutsu, so I can come here and still be able to report without heavy chakra exhaustion. He cast multiple hand seals quickly, I didn't see how many, and used a Genjutsu of his own creation again. I couldn't move and I couldn't hear what it was called, but it felt like I was being crushed by the amount of chakra invading my system. I bit my lip to exit the Genjutsu, but as soon as it stopped, it started again. He walked up to me and grabbed the bells, then stopped the Genjutsu, at which point I fell to the ground panting because of the chakra that was in my system. Everyone was wide-eyes. Most of them knew Naruto was good, but he beat Kakashi, even if it sounded like it was more a battle of attrition than experience, since Kakashi was using a lot of chakra to keep his Sharingan active. The third Hokage looked at Naruto and asked Naruto, "What is that Genjutsu?" "Remember the Genjutsu I showed you and the others? It's an updated version where I constantly stream the chakra necessary instead of invading the chakra system once, so if they do break it, then they are caught automatically. The only downside is it takes a lot more chakra. You won't be happy until you give me a headache, will you?" "Me? Never. Anyway, need to take Sensei to the hospital and got some stuff to do, so Jai-ni." And with that, both were gone with a flock of crows. Remember what I said about the S-rank secret? Asuma and Karina nodded. Naruto dropped off Kakashi at the hospital with a mild case of chakra exhaustion. He would be out in enough time for team training in 2 days, but with only light sparing if he chose to fight. He shoeshined home to inform his mother and brother, who was currently on leave from missions due to a stressful A-rank mission, about his test. Both were rather shocked about what he did, and both looked rather proud, but expected better, since he wasn't meant to go full out. He explained how Kakashi had knocked out both Sasuke and Sakura, and they said that it was okay. He signed the contract for the crows that evening, but had yet to summon a crow since he had to summon the boss first, and decided to speak to Ikari about it later. He left a clone in the library that evening to add his personal jutsu collection to it, and maybe update a few jutsu and look for the scrolls for both Aration and Rasengan. Whilst he slept, he didn't expect it to be easy to find. If his father wanted to hide something, then it would be hidden. He was a master of seals, after all. He decided that he would finally start learning how to use his chakra sabers. They were to be part of his legacy, so to speak. People would forever remember his dual sabers from the battlefield. His father was remembered for the flash of yellow before killing his enemies. His mother was remembered for her kenjutsu and speed, and he would be remembered for them seeing only his blade before he struck. Chapter 7: The Wave Experience. 2 fucking months. Naruto thought 2 months since he had become a genin and started the chores that every fresh genin did that were known as D-ranked missions. The only thing that Kakashi had taught them was to work together as a team, and even then it was limited. Naruto felt that this team was made for short-term purposes rather than a long-term team such as Kurina's or Asuma's team. He confided his thoughts in Kakashi only for them to be confirmed. Sasuke Uchiha had no one he could work with effectively from their graduation class, and as such Naruto was placed as a guard, so to speak. He was to protect Sasuke when they went out on missions, and hopefully make up for the loss in teamwork. Naruto had other ideas, though he could see the darkness in the picture that was Sasuke Uchiha. He could see that the boy would do anything for power, and he hoped to God that he never found out how to gain the Mangekyo Sharingan or Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, because there would be hell to pay, mostly because he couldn't obtain the Eternal version due to the fact that Itachi wasn't really his brother. No, Naruto in his own mind was on this squad to prevent Sasuke from absconding the village for power when the time eventually came. He spoke to his brother about the fact that he could see this happening in the future, and Itachi agreed that his foolish cousin would eventually do something like that to gain power. They both hoped that he wouldn't, but what could they do? They had tried time and time again to work with and befriend Sasuke, even though it could cause problems down the line, but he had none of it. They were realists. Nothing had really happened in the last 2 months. Naruto upped his weights on both him and his resistance seal. He found out by trial and error that when the seal was disabled, it was originally set to level 6, so he set it to level 7 and added 5 kilograms to each weight. Naruto followed his father in the speed department. He was a demon with speed for his age, and it would only get faster as his body grew. Naruto slowed on his genjutsu training to focus more on taijutsu and learning his new kenjutsu style for his chakra sabers that his mother had made for him before her death. He had asked Makoto what Yuza metal was, and she explained that it was a rare metal only found on the island where his mother's village was before it was destroyed. The metal itself is almost indestructible without chakra and can be enhanced with both normal type of chakra and elemental chakra such as futon. The style left to Naruto by his mother was a hidden style that was from Whirlpool Village. Before its downfall, people would kill for this style simply because no one knows much about it. And when you fight with such a style, you would have an advantage in surprise. Not to mention Whirlpool was famous for its kenjutsu styles, amongst other things. It relied on speed like all his other styles, but there was a difference. This style used shallow easy to make cuts and vital points on the body to make the enemy bleed out. So you can understand that when Naruto started to learn this, he mostly used Kage Bushin to spar against, or his brother's Doton Bunshin, since he was rather well versed in Umbu Kenjutsu. He had signed the summoning contract for the crows the night he passed his Genin test, but had yet to summon anything other than the boss thanks to a little help from Ikari. Flashback 1 month ago. Ikari-chan, you awake? What do you want, Naruto? I was trying to sleep. Sorry, but I was wondering if you mind giving me a boost in chakra to summon the crow boss so I can get his approval? Sure, whatever, just don't die. I knew you worried about me. You warmed my heart, Ikari-chan. She blatantly ignored the last comment from Naruto and sent some of her chakra into his system. Behind him was his mother and older brother with the Hokage. They all wanted to see this since they never knew that there was a crow contract. Naruto bit his left thumb whilst wiping the blood on his right palm before going through several hand seals at a fast pace and shouted Kuchios no Jutsu after slamming his hand into the ground. What happened next was least expected. 3 giant puffs of smoke appeared. He had expected one summon to appear, not 3. It was a good thing that they were out at one of the furthest and largest training grounds in Konoha, or they would attract quite a crowd. All 3 puffs of smoke cleared to show 3 giant crows with Naruto on top of the middle one's head, which was slightly bigger than the other 2. Who dares to summon the crow triplets? Bertram, Bertramus, and Bertrand? Ugh, that would be me. I guess I put too much chakra into that. The crows looked up on the head of the biggest of them, Bertram, and on his head was a small human. Who are you, and how did you summon us? The crow summoning contract was left to me by my father and his will. I was to sign it when I made Genin, and since I did, I signed it 2 weeks ago, but you 3 are the first crows I summoned. Us? Yep. You must have massive chakra to summon us. Thanks anyway. I would like to humbly ask to be allowed to summon the Crow clan since the contract was left to me. Also, my brother down below would like to sign it as well. Pass my test and I, the summon boss of the crows, Bertram, shall allow it. Cool, what test? Look into my eyes and let me see your life through yours. Naruto looked into the eyes of the crow, and he felt like the crow was gazing into his very soul. He felt the crow shiver at the memories of his life. You could tell that he had passed the test before it had even begun. If you knew Naruto, you pass. Naruto smiled a true smile. What did you do, though? Simple. I looked into your very soul and saw the best and worst moments of your life and what you did or didn't do to deserve both. Have your brother sign the contract as per our agreement. If he is anything like you, then he will work well with us. A sudden puff of smoke beside Naruto, and there was a small crow that looked just old enough to fly. This is my daughter Corbin. She is quite young and just learned how to fly recently. She shall be your familiar, and be the easiest to summon of the crows. He nodded and they all disappeared, leaving Naruto to fall to the ground screaming until he was caught by Itachi, who was laughing at the crow's sense of humor. End flashback. He got to know Corbin quite well since she was as familiar with the crows and found that she didn't like being cooped up at home with the rest of the crows and liked to explore. He explained to her that he would soon be going on missions outside the village and would take her if she wanted. She happily agreed. She grew in strength every day. Naruto had her fly around Konoha several times to increase her wing strength. She of course complained every step of the way, but upon consulting her father he agreed that it was best for her to learn early because it would save her life one day. Naruto shown the crows his Shunshin variation, and they were quite impressed to find he already knew one of the jutsu they taught their summoners. He asked what they meant, and they explained that he accidentally recreated the variation of Shunshin that they teach their summoners. He was quite happy about that. Soon after he found out that the crows were more trap, ambush, and genjutsu-orientated summons. They had maybe 5 battle summons amongst the Crow clan, and he had already summoned 3 of them. Needless to say that Naruto was happy being a crow summoner when they used genjutsu. Naruto asked Kakashi for a spar in Kenjutsu every now and then, just like his letters stated. Kakashi had a normal ninjato type of sword. Naruto found this strange. When asked where the white fan was, Kakashi replied saying it was broken when he lost his teammate in the Third Great Shinobi War, and he found no reason to have it fixed. Naruto disagreed with this and stated that if he saw no reason to have it fixed, was it because he had nothing worth protecting? How could you protect something without a weapon to help? Kakashi went on to tell him about the incident and how he lost his right eye before his teammate allowed him to transplant a Sharingan eye into his eye socket from his deceased teammate. Naruto came to the conclusion that the Sharingan eye and his father's white fang blade were a reminder of bad times that he didn't want to relive. Naruto asked him if he could see his father's blade or what was left of it, and against his better judgment he allowed it. What he didn't notice, however, was Naruto had his Sharingan active the whole time to find out how to get to it, since it was obviously well hidden. He had planned on getting it fixed himself and giving it back to him as a present that was just over 3 weeks ago, and he was due to pick it up later today. Right now he was currently with his team, and he used the word team ever so loosely. They were waiting for Kakashi to appear at the training grounds, and was due to appear any minute now. Sakura was still in her fangirl dress, which was pink. Come the fuck on pink. That's just as bad as neon orange that Naruto used to wear. Sasuke was in his white shorts with a dark blue high-collar shirt with the Uchiha clan emblem on the back, meaning that he had passed the rite of passage from within the Uchiha clan of learning the C-rank Jutsu Katan, Gokaki no Jutsu. Naruto had swapped up his wardrobe after his mother moaning that he was still wearing the same thing for the last 8 years. Sadly, Itachi agreed and told him to get a new set of clothes. It was a sad day. He liked his old clothes. Now he wore black umbu cargo trousers with a loose red belt that hung down at one side. He had foregone his normal t-shirt and chose to wear a dark orange/red hoodie that could be zipped up or left open. He tended to leave it open just to mess with people. To finish the look, he wore a necklace that his mother got for his last birthday. The necklace itself wasn't that extravagant, but it was well designed and well made by a personal jeweler in Stone Country. Like Tsunade's, it sat on an old-looking piece of rope/string made from thick leather with 3 crystals, and in between each crystal was 2 balls of smaller crystals holding the bigger ones in place. On the back of each crystal was an emblem of each clan he represented: Namikaze, Uzumaki, and Uchiha. He couldn't wear any but the Uzumaki out in public yet, so Makoto got him this so that he could still wear his clan emblems with pride. He wore his dual chakra sabers on different locations on his body. He had a triangle-shaped harness that allowed for ease of access when in battle. One saber was aligned horizontally ready to be drawn in reverse grip, whilst the second was aligned diagonally left ready to be drawn from the left side. Unfortunately for Naruto, this new look sort of got him quite a bit of attention from girls his age, and although he didn't mind the attention, he didn't want it, and thank the gods he knew Shunshin for difficult times. Fangirls, even he had them apparently. They were something every Uchiha male had to deal with, even the part Uchiha apparently. It would be 10 minutes later when Kakashi appeared in a puff of smoke, and so began the shouting of Sakura, and the lame excuse of Kakashi. Did she not learn? Kakashi would always be late. Mission time, let's go. Kakashi said tiredly. Truth be told, he was getting tired of listening to Sakura complain about D ranks and how Sasuke should automatically get better missions due to being the last Uchiha. It was times like this he thanked whatever merciful being that Naruto was placed on his squad. Arriving at the mission office in short time, they knocked at the door and walked in. Hello, Team 7 here for a mission again? Hi, Hokage-sama. Kakashi replied whilst trying to stop himself from crying due to D ranks, even if he forced his genin to work for him. Let's see here. We have gardening, walking the Inuzuka dogs, delivering medical supplies to the hospital, or catching Gigi. Don't say Tora. Naruto interrupted pleadingly. The third Hokage got an evil gleam in his eye. Catching Tora it is then. He was about to hand over the mission scroll when he heard a loud girly scream and looked over to Sakura. Do you have something to say, genin? Yes. How dare you give us such lousy missions? Sasuke-kun is the last Uchiha. He needs tougher missions to progress in skills and strengths. Everyone rubbed their ears from the banshee-like scream, and the Hokage looked over to Kakashi with a raised eyebrow. Are they ready? Of course Kakashi knew what this meant. It wasn't are they ready as much as it was, is Sasuke and Sakura ready? Hi, Hokage-sama, I believe this mission will do them good. The Hokage smiled. He knew Naruto was taking great self-restraint and cursing every being of his body for repeatedly giving him the capture Tora missions. But before he could assign them a mission, a hawk landed on the window with a scroll that had red tape. Red tape in the ninja world meant urgent. Quickly unraveling the scroll and reading, his face went through several emotions: surprise, anger, and finally revenge. Naruto was confused. Well, team, you haven't been ranked, maybe even a ranked mission now. Hokage-sama, are you sure? Kakashi asked. Yes, teammate was sent to Nami no Kuni with a bridge builder named Tazuna. Unfortunately, he lied about the mission and they encountered several missing. The demon brothers were both killed by the genin team. But Kiba was hurt whilst Kurenai was forced to face Zabuza Mamamichi, more commonly known as the Demon of the Bloody Mist Village. She survived barely by using a genjutsu to be able to strike him down, but before she could kill him a fake hunter named landed and took his body. She has several cuts and gashes on her body and is currently suffering chakra exhaustion. Your mission is to back up Team 8 until the bridge is complete, and if Gato arrives with bandits or something, assassinate the midget. Do you accept? The third Hokage was currently looking at Naruto, worrying about him. He knew how he felt about Kurenai, and that could lead to trouble. Naruto was standing there with barely restrained fury. He was trying best not to release killing intent, and it was working to a degree that only Jonin and Up would feel the small amount he was releasing. His eyes hardened, and they were morphing between his normal blue eyes and his red Sharingan, showing his rage. It was a good thing he was behind everyone else. We accept, Hokage-sama, Naruto stated in a serious voice. Meet at the gate in 1 hour, Naruto said before vanishing in a flock of crows, surprising the genin in the room. He didn't care at the moment about showing off. All this meant was he was angry. Aren't I supposed to give the orders? Kakashi asked, to no one in particularly. Leave him be, Kakashi. You know what he is thinking right now. Watch him. Hi, Hokage-sama, you hear? Naruto, 1 hour front gate. With Naruto arrived home with haste. Ka-san, he shouted. Makoto was in the back garden, and she heard her son shout, which meant he was rather angry. He never raised his voice unless someone annoyed him beyond his limits. She hurried through the house to the door to see her son with his Sharingan blazing. What's wrong? Team 8 was ambushed by Zabuza Mamamichi because the client lied about mission parameters. Kurenai is hurt, and my team is going to back them up. Now she knew what was wrong. The woman he cared for was hurt, and he could do nothing to help her at this moment in time. How are Itachi's eyes nowadays? She was caught off guard by the question. His eyesight is getting worse by the day due to the constant use of his Mangekyo. Why? When we get back we will do the transplant. I might need my Mangekyo in this mission, and if Zabuza dares hurt my friends I will make his life hell before he dies, he said with such venom. She nodded and left him to pack. 20 minutes later he came down with 3 scrolls and a holder on his left leg, presumably full with equipment. He hugged his mother and said goodbye whilst telling her he will be careful before shining to the Hokage's office for a quick word. Hello again, Naruto. What can I do for you today? When Itachi gets back, please take him off mission at the moment. We will need to do the transplant. So soon? Well, not for me. Itachi's eyes are getting worse because Umbu forces him to use them on tough missions to save his comrades. However, I will be using them this mission on purpose, even if I don't need to, for the single reason to kill Zabuza Momochi. He will learn not to mess with people who I cherish. The Hokage nodded in understanding. He and Kurenai became quite close in the past years, and although they weren't dating, it was only a matter of time, and everyone that knew them knew it. Naruto shushined to the gate and waited on his team. Everyone except Sakura arrived on time, which was a change. She arrived 15 minutes late carrying a suitcase. Naruto had a tick mark above his eye showing how increasingly annoyed he was becoming. Sakura. Yes? What is in the suitcase? Oh, you know, clothes, makeup, shampoo, different sets of shoes, and other things that aren't ninja-related. Why? To look my best for Sasuke-kun, of course, you baka. Naruto was about to explode at this girl, and she said something that pushed him over the edge. Of course, a clanless dobe like you wouldn't know anything about looking good for someone they loved. Kakashi inwardly cringed and waited for the shitstorm that was about to be unleashed. He knew Naruto well, and some things you just don't say around him, but this wasn't one of them. No, this was 2 months of built-up aggression, raging to the surface about Sakura. Listen here, you pink-haired banshee of a fangirl. My friends and a woman I care about deeply are waiting to get help out there because a dick of a client lied about the mission, and here we are waiting for you to turn up only to be 15 fucking minutes late. And what for? Makeup. I swear to God, if they die because of your bullshit, I will kill you in front of your family whilst torturing your banshee of a mother in front of you before your death. The last thing you will ever see of me smiling whilst I get you. Do you understand me? At this point she was crying and currently backed against the gate, not sure what to do. Naruto threw her suitcase up in the air before shouting Ketan, Gokaku no Jutsu, and breathing a fireball, leaving nothing but ash of what was left. Let's move out, Kakashi said, hoping to ease the tension. They fell into line with Naruto after Kakashi and Sasuke smirking all the way after Naruto with a scared Sakura crying about her stuff after Sasuke. It took about 4 hours for them to reach Wave, and it didn't do much to calm Naruto's rage. The town of Wave was a poverty-stricken place with children begging on the street. It reminded Naruto of his idiot mask from when he was younger. He sighed, let's find this Tazuna and get this done. I'm itching to fight a certain sword wielder. They found Tazuna's house half an hour later. By asking in town, they were reluctant to tell, but after showing them their headbands and saying they were from Konoha to reinforce the team that was already here, they agreed rapidly. Knocking on the door, a woman in her late 20s opened. Hello? Hi, I'm Kakashi Ataki Jonin Sensei for Squad 7. We are here to back up Squad 8. She smiled. Okay, they are in the living room. He nodded and walked in with his students following behind. They saw all three of the students resting on the couch/floor with Akamaru on Kiba's head. They all looked worse for wear. Kiba had a ripped jacket. Hinata had a small bit of blood on her arm, meaning she was hit by some small weapon, probably a Sunbon needle or something from the fake hunter, and Shino looked like he was suffering chakra exhaustion. Hello, where's Kurenai? Kakashi asked. They all pointed upstairs. Kakashi and Naruto walked up without their team due to Sakura and Sasuke not really caring. When they walked in the room, Naruto's feature automatically became hard, and he was already visualizing ways he could kill this demon of the mist. Kurenai was laying down asleep, but her dress was ripped on the stomach, and you could see clearly that there was a rather deep cut on the abdomen that wasn't healing right. Naruto sighed. He was going to do something really stupid. Kakashi, I'm going to scout the island and find Gato's base. I won't engage and report back to you. We both know I can do it without being spotted, and the team needs training. We need to know where they are and when they will attack. He reluctantly agreed. He knew Naruto's stealth was superb. Hell, he could probably steal the Forbidden Scroll from the Hokage's office without being caught and get halfway to Awa without the Hokage knowing it was missing. Fine, no fighting though. I know how mad you are, but please don't do something stupid. Fine, also I have a gift for you. Call it insurance to my comrades' protection in the future. He said whilst taking a scroll from his pouch and giving it to Kakashi before walking out. Naruto walked down to the room and explained everything. Kurenai is out for at least half a week. Kakashi is going to train you, and I'm going scouting as per orders. Jaini, he said before disappearing into a puff of smoke. Up in the room, Kakashi was opening the scroll, and out popped something he thought he would never see again: his father's chakra saber, the white fan fixed in its holster. He smiled, sneaky brat, and attached it to his back. Naruto appeared in a clearing and decided to consult his tenant about recent events. Hikari-chan, I presume you saw and heard everything and know what I want to do? Yes, and I must say I approve. It is a plan well though up in a little time. It's worth the mightiest of the Biju, she declared with a puffed-out chest, well, as much as a giant fox can. What plan? I'm going to find his base, kill them all, and kill Zabuza and that fake hunter Nin. There isn't much of a plan. Exactly, I like it. Kick-ass, take names and care about consequences later. He smiled. He knew she was doing this to cheer him up. You staying up to watch the fireworks? God, yes. He smiled again whilst biting his thumb and going through Hanseal's Kuchios no Jutsu. Kakasohanta, a huge puff of smoke appeared. This was the group of crows known as the Carcass Trackers. They specialized in hunting a prey, allowing others to kill it. They tracked the best of the best. 20 crows stood before him. Naruto-san, what do you need the Kakasohantas for? Someone I hold very dear to me has been injured by a missing ninja named Zabuza Momochi. According to Kakashi-sensei, he is about 6 square feet, wears cow leather trousers with a tank top, and medical bandages around his mouth and lower half of his face. He has a sword almost as big as he and should be very adept in Suiton ninjutsu. I need to find him. The chances are he is near a big group of bandits since he is working for a local crime boss. Spread out and find him, then report back to me if you don't mind. We have never failed to find a target, and we never will. We shall report back soon. The lead crow said whilst flying away. Naruto sighed before summoning Corbin. Corbin, we are currently outside the village, and I'm on a mission. I would have summoned you earlier, but things have happened that have caused my attention to slip. Feel free to fly around, and be careful. I don't want your father trying to eat me because you got hurt or something. She nodded, well, as much as a crow can nod, and flew off. She understood that whatever was going on was most likely nothing to do with her, and left him alone to his thoughts. Half-hour later, the leader of the crows arrived back to give his report. Apparently this Gato person was stupid enough to live in the daimyo's mansion and didn't even try to hide. There were about 300 thugs in Gato's main base. He could handle that no problem, especially since he hadn't restricted him using the Mangekyo, although after this he would need some serious rest and relaxation, not to mention his eyesight would be significantly worse than it currently is. He was okay with that as long as he got to help this country and kill Zabuza for what he had done to Kurenai. It would be another hour and a half before all crows came back and explained that they found Zabuza and his little hunter Nin in a small cottage outside of the town that Gato owns resting. The hunter was taking care of him because apparently being put into a false death state fucks with the body who knew. It had been about 3 hours since he arrived in Wave, and he wasn't tired at all due to his monster stamina from being a Jinchuriki, not to mention the fact that he had been resting in the same spot for the last 2.5 hours waiting for the crows to report. Thank you guys, you may go now. Sorry for calling you guys if you were busy. No problem, Naruto-san, it's our job and we enjoy it. He smiled as they dispelled it was time for some payback. It would take half hour to reach Zabuza's little hideaway, and then he had to check for guards and eliminate them before he could proceed. He stopped and sent out 5 Kagebushin using his unique henges, birds and rats to scout around the building and inside it if need be. He was sure Gato wouldn't leave Zabuza unattended since he was paying for his services, and he was right. There were 3 guards. 1 on the roof and 2 at the door. The number seemed awfully low to him, but if he had to guess he would say that Gato didn't want to waste manpower on a missing nin. Sending hand signals to the clones to eliminate the target quietly, they did so. The 1 on the roof got a kunai covered in Raiton chakra to the skull, whilst the 2 at the door both had their necks snapped. Those weren't his first kills. No Itachi called a favor in with the Hokage when he was younger and had Naruto kill a prisoner that was due to be executed to get over the first kill issue, but that didn't mean he had to like it. He sighed before the night was out. His hands were going to be covered in blood. Naruto covered his eyes in a powerful genjutsu whilst activating his Sharingan. One of them may get away. There was no need to have rumors spread about a Sharingan wielder with blonde hair. Dropping from the roof to the floor, he just stood there. They didn't even notice him. Zabuza, he said in nothing more than a whisper. Zabuza, he said a bit louder this time. Zabuza turned his head. Zabuza, he shouted. This definitely got his attention. Who are you, Gaki, and where are you? I am Naruto Uzumaki. You hurt someone close to me, so I'm going to kill you, but not before extending the same pleasure to you, Zabuza. What do you mean? The woman you hurt to get to the bridge builder. Kurina Yui. I care for her and you hurt her. So you think you can just come in here and kill me, do you? He said, looking around hoping to find this mystery voice. Yes. He heard in nothing more than a whisper in his ear. He turned to see nothing there. He turned again to see a chair with his adoptive son tied to it. This hunter nin is important to you, isn't he? I can see it on your face, Zabuza Momochi, demon of the mist. Not at all, Gaki, do what you want. I plan to, he said before stabbing Haku in the leg with a kunai. No, Zabuza shouted. I thought he wasn't important to you, Zabuza. I lied. Obviously. You are going to die today, Zabuza, but the question is, will your adoptive son die with you, or will he run from me and spread the word about me? Naruto said, dispelling the genjutsu he had on Zabuza to show he was alone in the room. I will not die today, brat. I will find you and kill you. Will you now? Come outside, let me see what kind of demon you are. Without a second thought, Zabuza ran outside with Hyde's sword on his back. Outside in the clearing was Haku tied and gagged to a tree with Naruto standing calmly with both chakra sabers drawn blazing red. This is the real Haku. He was easy to defeat. Now before we start, I have a question, Zabuza. How does it feel to be a chick? What? He looked down and saw he had high C-cup breasts and his voice was slightly higher than normal. I hate genjutsu. You mad, bro? Dispelling the genjutsu, Naruto got into stance. This is the first time these sabers have been used outside training. Give me a good fight. Immediately Zabuza went through hand signs Kirigakure no Jutsu. A thick mist rolled in around the fighters, or so Zabuza thought. He didn't know that he was still in a genjutsu that reacted to his jutsu, was Sharingan genjutsu, that Naruto came up with in his spare time if he knew what the jutsu did and what its name was. Then the user supplied the hand seals, thus making them think they are fighting for real when they aren't. Zabuza, I said a good fight, he said before blowing a stream of condensed wind at the fog, clearing it away from the field. They clashed blades and Naruto had to admit Zabuza was strong and had advantage due to height. The clash of the Kenjutsu blades was going on for about 5 minutes and Naruto was starting to lose due to speed. He wasn't going to have that, so he dropped his weights down to 30 kg and left his resistance seals intact. Using the newfound speed boost from his weights, Naruto rushed Zabuza and nicked the back of his kneecaps, forcing him to the ground by cutting the tendons, and he held both his chakra sabers glowing red with his anger at his neck, before looking at Haku. Watch him die and then feel the pain I felt when you tried to hurt someone precious to me. With that he slit his throat and Haku tried to scream but couldn't, and then it was all over. They were back standing where they began and Zabuza was panting and looking at a smirking Naruto. What the fuck was that? Genjutsu. So you aren't good at nintai or kenjutsu? I take offense to that. Of course I'm more on the skills I displayed in the genjutsu were relative to my skills. I tire of this fighting. You bore me, demon of the mist. Allow me to show you a real demon. His eyes turned into his Mangekyo Sharingan under the genjutsu. Before locking eyes with Zabuza Tsukuyomi, he declared. Before Zabuza knew it, he was tied to a post with his arms stretched out and he couldn't move or break free. Welcome to my world, Zabuza Momochi. In this world I am God. I control everything. You will be here for 72 hours being tortured by a friend of mine. He looked behind him to see his tenant and friend, the nine-tailed demon fox which attacked the Leaf Village. Hikari, knock yourself out, but make sure he's dead by the end. Oh Naruto, you know how to treat a girl. I try. The genjutsu broke and Zabuza screamed whilst Naruto dropped his genjutsu over his eyes to show his normal blue eyes, except his right eye was bleeding profusely. Zabuza fell to the floor in a coma due to pain overload. He looked at Haku. You will live, you will spread the word that Konoha is protected and no one messes with my friends, he said before walking over to Zabuza and taking his own sword to cut off his head, ending his life. Haku was crying at the sight. It was the second time his family was taken away. Naruto felt bad for him, he really did. Sealing Zabuza's head in a scroll, he walked over to Haku and stabbed his sword into the ground and placed a sealing scroll beside it. Haku looked confused. You saw that man as a father, did you not? He nodded. Then take his sword and head to Kiri and fight for the Bloodline Rebels. I don't need his sword, and from what I understand from the bingo book that I read, he only left Kiri because he tried to kill the Mizukichi who started the Bloodline Purge. Naruto pulled down the gag and apologized for his loss before walking off and hearing Haku shout, "Aren't you going to untie me?" He laughed and Haku was confused. Why, until he reappeared. You won't be coming to seek me out, Haku. I will defend my precious person, and that is the reason yours died, unfortunately, because he injured mine. And as to freeing you, you've been free for the last half hour, he said whilst dispelling the genjutsu and himself with it. He cursed that boy was good with genjutsu, and from what he said he excelled in nintai and kenjutsu as well. He would be sure to spread the word about the boy who used red chakra sabers and killed Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the mist, if only to cause the boy issues in the future. He would be remembered as Konoha's Red Devil. Naruto was already well away from this Haku character that was with Zabuza in case he decided to try and attack him when he was slightly weakened from using his Mangekyo. He waited for 20 minutes to calm down a bit from the fight. He just had to. Tsukuyomi takes a shit ton of chakra. Even for him, he checked his levels and found that he was down to March 4th after that little genjutsu of his. His eyes stopped bleeding and he popped a soldier pill to get his levels back up. He originally liked the idea of running in with Susanoo and see how they dealt with that, but came up with a better idea. He was a one-man army, after all, so why not put it to use? He created 50 high-explosive clones, and they each had high Chunin level chakra enough to blow everything to Kingdom Come and back. He told them to henge into various small animals and bugs and infiltrate the camp, but not the main building. He would take that himself. After 30 minutes more of waiting and his chakra levels sufficiently restored after he created his little army, which took a lot of chakra considering one explosive bushin is worth 5 normal Kage bushin, he used his Umbu level stealth to sneak into the mansion, missing all the guards including the ones on the roof. He killed the 2 outside Gato's office quickly and quietly. He Sparta-kicked Gato's door and found him sitting at his desk trying to rape a young woman. She couldn't be over 14, and I say trying because he is too small to reach her when she bent over. Gato looked over to the door and found a man covered in blood, but none of his guards screamed, so it couldn't have been them. It must have been his earlier fight with Zabuza. Naruto mused. Oh Gato, I'm about to kill everyone here except your little slaves and take them back to wave to their families. Now you have a chance to live if you do 2 things, he said in a sweet voice that promised pain. And what do they mean, San? He asked, scared for his life. 1, you will sign over your company to Konoha, where it will be passed down to the respective Kage at the time, and 2, I'm going to raid your vault for stuff, because I can. Deal! He shouted rather quickly, already drawing up the paperwork. It seemed this one knew when he was either beat or when to save his life. The woman that he was trying to rape hugged him closely, and he just told her to get dressed and wait outside. He explained that the guards were dead, so it was fine. After signing the paperwork, his eyes shifted again. Amaterasu, he said as black flames consumed Gato's body. He walked away muttering, I said you had a chance, that didn't mean you would. Naruto walked downstairs towards the vaults whilst clutching his left eye was bleeding profusely due to the Mangekyo. Just as it stopped, he arrived at the vaults. He killed the 2 guards and walked into the vaults. Gato was nice enough to give him the combination before he died. The walls were lined with scrolls from different villages' rare jutsu that he couldn't use due to not being a ninja, but kept for sales purposes. Different elements: Raiton, Suiton, Doton, Katon, and Futon. There were even a few Mokuton, which surprised him. He came to the conclusion that someone stole them from the Senja clan. Their losses gain. He filled a spare storage scroll he had with about 700,000 Ryo that was laying in the vault before filling another with the rest. He would have the 700,000 one, whilst the village would have the other one that had millions of Ryo. The woman led him to the slave room. Some men were violating the woman, and this made him mad, so he killed them quickly and painlessly. When done, he stood in front of them and said, "All right, listen, I am Naruto Uzumaki, a ninja of Konoha. Outside this mansion are about 300 thugs and bandits, and they are about to die. Then I'm taking you back to Wave so you can go home. I will hand a scroll with money from Gato's vaults to the daimyo to help rebuild Wave," he said before creating a clone and dispelling it to let the other clones know it was time to detonate. Blast upon blast was heard outside of the mansion, and screams could be heard. He turned to the woman. "It's all right, they were my explosive clones. I left to go boom and kill the bandits," he said, calming some of the woman down. The explosions died down and Naruto walked out with the woman behind him into what could only be described as a war zone. There were bodies everywhere, some in pieces and some not. Some were alive, but not for long. The woman hurried up behind the man, who calmly walked through the carnage. He turned and told them to get behind him, and when they did, he said, "What I'm about to do is going to take a lot out of me, so I will need help walking back to Wave if you don't mind." They all nodded. It was the least they could do for this man who saved them. Naruto smiled and turned to face the mansion with all the bodies in front of it. He closed his eyes and formed the Ram seal to gather his chakra before opening his left eye and shouting Amaterasu. Black flames sprouted from his eyes, covering the mansion and the courtyard in them before they burnt to leave nothing left. He opened his right eye to reveal his Mangekyo, and the flames immediately died down, showing no signs that they were ever there except ash on the ground. Naruto stumbled back a bit, holding both eyes, and grunted. "These Mangekyo techniques hurt like a bitch. I hope when I get the Eternal that they don't bleed like this." The woman he saved earlier from being raped by Gato caught him and smiled at him. "Arigato." She nodded and started walking with his arm over her shoulder, providing support towards Wave. Halfway there, he decided to pop another soldier pill. He knew this was dangerous, but if any of Gato's men were still around, then he would need to protect the women. He heard Hikari agree. "I will take care of your body when you sleep, but you will be out for about 3 days. What needs done needs done." Walking into town, he could see that people were walking around. It was about 7 in the morning at the moment, and he had been up all night. He needed rest. Cheering was immediate, and they all said it was thanks to Naruto. He sighed and thanked God that he had enough chakra for a shunshin to Tsuna's. As soon as he reappeared at Tsuna's front door, he fell to a knee and began breathing heavily before coughing up a little bit of blood. He wasn't surprised. It was part of the Mangekyo issue that was soon to be solved. He banged on the door twice before he heard footsteps from inside the house. Sakura answered before seeing Naruto and screamed. He inwardly cursed her banshee-ness. Everyone came running to see Naruto on his knees breathing heavily except Kurenai, who was still asleep due to chakra exhaustion. "Naruto, what the hell, you were meant to scout," said Kakashi. "Would you believe me if I said Zabuza caught me?" he asked pleadingly. The genin seemed to accept this, but Kakashi frowned. "Fuck no, I sent you because I knew you wouldn't be caught. Fine, I killed Zabuza, went to Gato's mansion, killed him, freed the slaves, killed 300 bandits before burning his mansion to the ground and using too much chakra. So can one of you carry me up to bed?" he asked whilst throwing 2 scrolls at Kakashi. One contains Zabuza's head, his apprentice/adoptive son got away, but I think he got the message, and the other contains funds for the Wave daimyo to rebuild Wave, not to mention the paperwork stating that Gato signed over Gato Industries to Konoha and the respective Kage at the time. Now someone take me to bed, I'm about to collapse. And with that he closed his eyes and fell face first. No one said anything before Kakashi picked him up and took him to one of the spare bedrooms and let him sleep. It would be 3.5 days until he awoke again. Magic ninja time skip. 3.5 days later, Naruto rolled over in his sleep whilst he grunted. He was half awake and felt pain everywhere. He decided to ask Hikari what happened. "You collapsed after using 98.2% of your chakra, which is a lot for you. I'm guessing your eyesight is worse, and you have about 40% chakra back from before. Good news, though, is that your reserves have grown by about 5%, which is also a lot for you. Must be the constant use of the Mangekyo from last night strengthening the coils behind your eyes." Anything happen whilst I was out? No idea, I was asleep as well. It took quite a bit of chakra to heal you after the soldier pill trick you did. Sorry Akari-chan, I don't like forcing you to work on my body. I know, but it needed doing, so wake the fuck up and go see the Cyclops. Naruto did just that and opened his eyes to find he was alone in his room bursting for a piss. After 3 days of sleep he hobbled to the bathroom and opened it before relieving himself. Walking downstairs he found it was oddly quiet and found no one in the house. Weird, where's Kakashi, Imo, and Banshee, he thought to himself. He walked outside and found his eyesight had diminished greatly. He didn't notice yet because he had no need to see far away, he sighed. This was going to be problematic until he got the transplant. Activating his Sharingan under Genjutsu he found he could see normally and not more advanced like when he used to use the Sharingan. He sighed again and looked for any chakra usage. He found the teams in a clearing about half a mile away from Tazuna's house doing tree climbing. They were all taking a break at the moment, with Kurina and Kakashi watching them since they didn't really have to guard the bridge anymore. Naruto hobbled over using the tree to help him stand. He looked up and everyone was staring at him. Sup. Kurina was first to talk. Don't sup me, young man, when we get home I'm telling your mother. Naruto paled anything but that. He hated when she was mad. She was a kind woman until you pissed her off. Anything but that, Kurina-sama? He begged. She smirked and gave him a hug and whispered into his ear, thank you for what you did. No problem, Kurina-chan, I would tear a city apart for you if need be. He whispered back and she nodded. Parting ways, the others looked at him and Kakashi asked what happened. When he went scouting I was kind of angry about something and Zabuza was a good stress reliever. I sent my summons to find him and Gato whilst I meditated. They found him. I killed the guards and tied up his adoptive son and made him watch whilst I fought Zabuza and killed him multiple times. I say multiple times because I made him think he died in Genjutsu like 3 times. Before I got bored and killed him for real. The adoptive son was the hunter Nin you guys saw. I think he was 15 and from what I could tell by watching him he used Hyoton, so I placed Zabuza's sword in front of him and left after telling him to spread a certain message. Then he went off to fight in the bloodline purges of Kiri. They all nodded dumbly whilst a certain Imo was scheming to get Naruto's power for his own. Then I went to Gato's and made 100 explosive Kagebushin and snuck them in via Hanji into the camp, at which point they just stayed doing nothing. I popped a soldier pill to refill my reserves and infiltrated Gato's office, at which point I saw him attempting to rape a 14-year-old woman. I say attempting because he was a midget and couldn't reach her. I forced Gato to sign over Gato Industries to the residing Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village, and it will never be in the council hands, so they can't steal from the company. I then raided the vaults and maybe stole all his rare jutsu that he had and stored them in a blood storage seal. He said, not really wanting them, or rather Sasuke and Sakura, to hear the end of the last bit. I set off my clones and took the woman outside past the carnage, where then I used a certain Ketan jutsu to burn all the bandits and the mansion all to the ground in seconds, at which point I practically fell over due to chakra exhaustion. I popped another pill, which I realized was a stupid-ass thing to do, but I needed it in case I needed to protect the woman from any of Gato's thugs. We got to town around 7 in the morning and the people cheered for me, and I ran away with Shunshin and fell to my knees at the front door when someone screamed like a banshee and you all appeared. He finished. Sasuke was annoyed that he couldn't have Naruto scrolls. Sakura was scared of Naruto. Kiba was annoyed that he couldn't prove himself to be the alpha male to Hinata. Shino was Shino, and Hinata was surprised the boy she loved could kill so many without blinking. Kurina and Kakashi looked on in pride. Oh, wait 1 second, he said, and walked over to a tree before heaving his stomach contents onto the ground, and Sakura screamed that he was being disgusting. Well, you try killing 300 people in one night and not be sick, he snarled at her. They continued to train after lunch, and Naruto went back to sleep to regain what strength he had lost. 2 weeks later the bridge was finished, and they named it the Great Naruto Bridge. Which Naruto actually disagreed with the name, but everyone told him to shut up because he was being modest. Naruto remembered his talk with Kurina after he was healed, explaining what really happened. Flashback: Kurina was in the forest at night by a small lake watching the moon, and Naruto was out walking for some air. He was still trying to get over what had happened and was slightly angry with himself for taking so many lives, but he remembered what his brother once said that their mother had told him after a similar mission where Itachi had to slaughter hundreds of bandits at a young age by himself. He said, kill one, save 1,000. The bandits we kill are nothing but thieves and liars that do nothing to help those around them. They are selfish and deserve death for what they do to their prisoners. Naruto actually agreed. Walking into a clearing, Naruto saw Kurina and stared at her. The moon was shining just right that it illuminated her and made her look beautiful. He couldn't help it, he gasped. You can come out now, Naruto. Naruto slowly walked out of the trees and sat beside her. She was still staring up at the moon. What are you doing out here by yourself, Naruto? I was trying to clear my head. I killed so many people recently, and I feel rather guilty even though they deserved it for what they did. Why did they deserve it? I saw you laying there, Karina-chan. You were asleep with a big cut right across your stomach from Zabuza's sword. I was mad to begin with when we entered the Hokage's office only to be given this mission due to what had happened, but when I saw you I snapped. I demanded from Kakashi to go scouting, to which he agreed once I pointed out that I can get in and out without being seen, and hunted Zabuza down. He was getting ready to attack the bridge builder in the morning and I was angry. I led him outside with a genjutsu to provoke him and shown him that I already caught his little hunter Nin. I immediately placed him in a genjutsu that I made, which made the opponent think they are fighting. When they aren't, I killed him in it, and then he fell to the ground panting with the genjutsu at an end. I repeatedly beat him and shown him how weak he was and explained that if he hadn't hurt someone I consider precious then he might have lived. I got annoyed that he wasn't even sorry and used my Mangekyo on him. I had Kyuubi torture him for 72 hours in Tsukuyomi, at which point he fell into a coma from pain overload, and I chopped off his head with his own sword. I burned Gato to a crisp with Amaterasu and then burned his whole mansion and the bodies with it again. My eyesight is greatly diminished and will continue to do so until I get the transplant, but it was worth it. I would do anything as long as it meant the people I care for are safe. He finished whilst looking up at the moon. He turned to look at her and gazed into her crimson red eyes, and she slowly leaned forward to give him a gentle kiss on the lips. It was a passionate kiss, not the hungry type of kiss, and it lasted for 30 seconds before she stopped. "Arigato, Naruto-kun," she said before she got up and walked away. He smiled. It was worth it as long as she was safe, as long as she didn't view him as a monster. For what he'd done he could cope. Flashback, and they arrived at the village, signed in from the mission, and started to walk towards the Hokage's office, but noticed that people weren't glaring at Naruto as much. In fact, some were actually looking at him with looks of respect. He looked at Kakashi and asked quietly, "Does it look like less people are glaring than usual?" He nodded. "I wonder what happened." "We will find out later." Arriving at the Hokage's office, they all walked in and began to give the mission report as standard. Karina just finished hers up to the point that Kakashi arrived and started to explain his. Kakashi explained what happened during Naruto's scouting expedition, and he sighed. He looked over to Naruto and watched in amazement as Naruto was looking so innocent that he couldn't stay mad at him. Damn puppy eyes. No jutsu shouldn't work for a 13-year-old. I'm labeling that a kenjutsu. If it gets out, everyone is going to use it. It came to the end of the report and everyone left except the Jonin and Naruto. Naruto threw a scroll to the Hokage and he looked at it before asking what it was. "That is Zabuza's head for bounty collection and the deed to Gato Industry that I made him sign over before I may or may not have killed him." He smiled innocently at the Hokage, who just sighed. "Will you be happy when I die of stress due to headaches caused by you, Naruto? This is going to take so much goddamn paperwork." Naruto smiled and tossed another scroll. "Read that when we get out of this meeting and are out of the tower. Also, you wouldn't happen to know why villagers don't seem to glare openly anymore, do you? In face, some seem to respect me in some small minuet way. Well, it seems you're famous." "How so?" He tossed Naruto a book and told him to turn to page 113 and read it out loud. "Name, Naruto Uzumaki, alias Konoha's Red Okiba, Red Fong, rank, a village, Konoha. Description, blue eyes, blonde hair, 5 feet 6. 3 whisker marks on each cheek, well built with black umbu cargo trousers, orange hoodie with no shirt, and a necklace with crystals on it. Skills, Genjutsu, Sannin level Taijutsu. Kenjutsu, low Jonin level red chakra sabers ninjutsu. Speed? Message, don't attack directly, don't attack loved ones, or you will hunt you to the end of the earth with no remorse for who dies, including your family. Wanted by Iwa, dead or alive 200000000 Ryokiri, dead or alive 250000000 Ryo. Naruto smiles. Look like Haku took my warning to heart. And walked away, only to hear banging as he walked out of the room. Apparently the old man read his second scroll early. It was how to defeat paperwork. Chapter 8. Chunin exams start. It's been 2 months since what was described as the massacre in Wave News spread amongst the ninja world of a young blonde-haired boy who was capable of killing Zabuza Momochi with ease, and people began to get scared of the leaf. It looked like they had another Minato Namikaze rising up through the ranks quickly, except this time he was younger rather than older. Naruto himself wasn't happy about all the attention he was getting now. It meant that he had to try harder to keep his skills hidden more so than he has ever had to. For the last 2 months Naruto wanted to expand on his jutsu repertoire and spend his time that wasn't spent training his body in his father's library. He wrote ideas about jutsu that he wanted to make, and or recreate. One such jutsu that he wanted to recreate was a widespread jutsu that Uchiha Madara was famous for, Katan, Goku Mikaku, or Great Fire Annihilation. It was a personal jutsu that Madara created in the clan wars that was meant to take out hundreds of enemies with one attack. Due to chakra requirements, Naruto took a rough guess at saying he would be the only one ever to be able to use it in the Hidden Leaf for the next couple of centuries. The clones were making progress on jutsu creation or recreation, but it was taking its time, and that was something Naruto didn't mind. However, he did set extra clones to recreate Madara's jutsu. He felt like something was going to happen to the leaf soon, and even if the people had wronged him worth a lifetime, he still had people he loved and trusted here. A week after the Wave mission, Itachi came back, and the next day they had their eyes swapped under the careful supervision of Naruto's personal nurse that he trusted, and so did Sarutobi, but that didn't stop either of them, reminding her it was part of an ongoing S-class secret. They were both in hospital for a day after, and then sent home to rest with both sets of eyes bandaged to allow the muscles to heal and relax before working. Itachi was quite proud of his brother for what he did in Wave, and also quite scared of the fact that he may have trained him too well, and if he would ever snap in the line of duty, then only a select few would be able to stop him, and even then it would be difficult due to his prowess in Genjutsu. Naruto went to learning his family jutsu in his library, and so far due to his clones he had learnt many different jutsu. So far for his fire and lightning element, he felt that since everyone knew his Genjutsu was totally awesome thanks to the bingo book, then he should have a backup such as ninjutsu. He decided that his taijutsu was good so far and still sent clones to practice the katas for muscle memory. So he didn't forget it, but he didn't practice it as much. He decided to grow his hair out for the hell of it. He was getting tired of having it short and thought about changing it. Imagine his shock that due to its natural spikiness and length it looks very similar to Uchiha Madara's hairstyle yet lacked the color. He decided to tie it in several knots going down his back to prevent it from looking like Madara's. After they got back from Wave, Naruto noticed much to his annoyance that Kurina was acting differently. He felt he should just leave it be, but his training kicked in from Itachi and his mother about reading faces to help in battle. She was feeling guilty about something, and Naruto found it rather sad how easy she was to read. She was a jonin after all and shouldn't be easy. Naruto wondered what was wrong with her, but instead of asking her straight away he decided to ask Itachi or Makoto if either knew what was wrong. Neither knew obviously, and he felt like a moron for asking them, so he decided to ask Old Man Hokage. The Hokage had initially been happy to see the blonde in his office. After all, even though he changed dramatically, he was still his surrogate grandson who he loved dearly, but that soon changed with the topic of conversation. Flashback. Yo, old man. Hello Naruto, how are you today? Rather annoyed. I feel like Kurina is hiding something from me. She looks like she feels regret and guilt about it, but I'm not sure if I should ask or not. The Hokage was beginning to sweat now and was cursing Itachi for teaching Naruto how to read emotions on faces, but what he didn't know is that Naruto witnessed a slight flinch in his posture and twitch of the lips into a frown before disappearing. It's official, someone is hiding stuff from me again, and I don't like it. You know what, old man, forget about it. I will leave it till after the Chunin exams, said old man. Let a small sigh of relief go, which once again Naruto noticed. He sighed to himself and walked out of the office. The Hokage was now having a terrible day. Kurina was indeed having to keep something from our young Uchiha, and it wasn't very nice what she was keeping either. Flashback in a flashback. Good game. Kurina was having a terrible day ever since she learned what Naruto did in Wave. She had been feeling guilty because it was basically her fault for everything. It had been 2 days since their return and the unveiling of the newest bingo booker from Konoha, and she decided to voice her opinions to the Hokage. Walking past the secretary and into the office, ignoring the guards, she asked for a private audience from the Hokage, which he agreed to. So Kurina-chan, how goes your mission? Ahead of schedule, sir, but I feel terrible. How so? Did you not read the report from Wave? He slaughtered over 300 men just because someone hurt me, and all for my mission. The Hokage sighed. Someone on the council found out about her mission to train the demon brat, and the civilian council thought that in their infinite wisdom that he should be controlled, which was seconded by his advisors, including Danzo. Not to mention that I and Asuma are very close now because he finally admitted he wanted a proper long-term relationship unlike before, but can't due to this mission. I know you two are close, but keep with the mission, and when the time comes let him down gently so he does trust again, because I don't need to tell you what will happen if his heart breaks. He will never trust anyone but family again. She sighed before nodding and leaving the age-old Hokage to his paperwork. End flashback. Stupid civilian council and stupid power grab schemes. End flashback. 2 months had passed after they returned. He was called for a team meeting with his team at Training Ground 7 at the usual time, which for Naruto and Kakashi was 12 and the other two was 9 in the morning. He wondered what this meeting was about. They never had meetings anymore since the first one was such a pain in the ass to listen to the banshee screech. He soon got his answer when he took his time to notice all the foreign ninja around the village. The Chunin exams were on and hosted here this year. He grinned, finally a chance to not only get off his cousin's team, but also get his date with Karina. This was going to be magnificent. He arrived at the training grounds to find his normal teammates just sitting down and waiting. Kakashi arrived not 5 minutes later and handed out the forms for participation. He had already promised the old man that he wouldn't show off his Sharingan in the finals or the Chunin exams for that matter. Who said he needed it? He was proficient in most areas without the Sharingan and could handle himself quite well. Naruto immediately signed it and handed it back to Kakashi to hand to the Hokage with a smile on his face. He went home to prepare and inform his mother and brother, but not before Kakashi told him to be at the academy for 9 tomorrow in room 301. The next morning he went to the academy as told, only to meet Sasuke getting his ass handed to him by some guy in a green jumpsuit and giant eyebrows. He couldn't stop laughing for 5 minutes. He met up with his team and went to the exam room where Sasuke was jumped by his hordes of fangirls. He looked to Naruto for help, but his mind was elsewhere. He was staring at the Ichibi container from Suna. He was confused. Why send a container to another village to attend the exams, especially when said container is unstable? He remembered how he had to save Konohamaru from the Suna genin yesterday, and how the man with the makeup was going to hurt someone he considered a little brother. He was furious at the time, and placed them both under a genjutsu where they were met by their worst nightmares. The Ichibi came out when the screaming had stopped and both his siblings were on the floor unconscious. He would have just thought he was another batshit insane genin if it wasn't for Ikari within him telling him that the genin was batshit insane because the demon was even more crazy. He felt sorry for his Jinchuriki brother, but ignored it since he had his own problems to deal with. A tall man with a bandana and trench coat appeared in the room. Naruto knew this was the head interrogator at the TNI department at Biki. He had quite the reputation as the sadist, and Naruto knew it was true. This was one of the few people that knew about Naruto's true skill. Well, he didn't know his true skill, but he knew that he was smarter and stronger than most genin. Naruto knew his game as soon as he turned up. This would be a written test where he would freak out the genin and make them doubt themselves, leading them to quit the exams. Brutal yet efficient, he mused. And like he said, it was exactly that, but with a twist thrown in at the end which he didn't see coming. He sent a nod towards Ibiki, saying he understood and appreciated the effort he was putting in trying to get the other teams to quit. Before long, just over half the teams remained, and he said those 2 words that sent a feeling of relief over most genin: you pass. He started to explain what the test was actually for, since no one understood before he could explain much, though there was a banner that came through the window in a ball-like shape that then spread out to say the sexy and single proctor Anko Mitarashi. Naruto sighed. This was Anko, second in command at the TNI department, and another person who knew Naruto faked his strength. If he knew Anko, then she would try to make him fail just for the fun of it. Sadistic bitch. Alright brats, get to training ground 44 for the survival test. If you weren't there in half hour, then you fail. She jumped back out the window, and somehow the band went with her. Weird. A lone genin stood up and looked around. Does anyone know where training ground 44 is? No one answered. He sighed and grabbed his teammates before sunshining them to the ground. Listening to the banshee bitch about not being able to find the field would be annoying as hell otherwise. Anko explained the rules to them since they were first to arrive and told them to wait. Naruto created 100 clones and had them hinge into flies. When the genin arrived, he assigned 1 clone to each squad, including the leaf zone for protection, well protection for the leaf, and destruction for the rest. The clones would wait and unhinge whilst in the forest. They would take the team by surprise, knocking them out and taking their scrolls. He had a feeling this wouldn't work with the sand team, but did it anyway. Anko once again went over the rules, but this time scared a few genin via kunai before screaming for them to go. Naruto smirked and took off into the forest, but not before getting the faintest whiff of snake in his nostrils. He frowned at this. He never liked snakes. Naruto, thinking 2 steps ahead as per usual, deduced that the only other person with the smell of snakes should be Orochimaru, and since it didn't smell of dango as well, then he had a pedophile after him, which made him annoyed. He knocked both his teammates out and replaced them with a sturdy shadow clone that had higher chakra levels to handle blows. Before assigning clones to run to the tower with his actual team, he gave the clones his scroll and told them to meet some of his clones on the way to get another scroll. They nodded before running away, leaving the boss to deal with the snake in the grass. He couldn't understand what he wanted. It had to be something that only this team had that no other had, and it had to be a very precious thing. "Come out, snake, I can smell you." A rather tall girl for her age came out of the bushes and snarled at him. Naruto raised an eyebrow. "You're Orochimaru? A woman? Am I insulted or not? I don't know." He grinned. "Kukukuku Naruto-kun, so nice to see you. It appears you know me. How?" "Oh, you know rumors around the village bingo books, and of course my favorite, you're the QB Jinchuriki." Naruto just continued grinning, and for some reason this infuriated Orochimaru. Why was this child not scared? Was his life in this village so bad that he would throw it away? "Well, that's nice and all, but why don't you tell me why you're here?" "Well, I want to give Sasuke-kun a present. I'm not sure if he swings that way or not. I'm not gay. Chasing little boys tells me different." "Shut up. Did I hit a sore spot?" Orochimaru was getting mad and charged Naruto. This boy would die for insolence. Unfortunately, Naruto had other ideas. "What did Sarutobi Gigi teach you anyway? Can't you tell when you're in a genjutsu?" So much for the so-called prodigy of the Sannin. That stopped him immediately. If this was a genjutsu, he couldn't tell, and that annoyed him to no end. He tried to dispel it, but nothing happened. He tried again and again before it broke, showing the exact same thing he saw before. Why did he make a genjutsu with everything the same? Simple, he had already won and wanted to waste time. "Ho ho, you dispelled it. Well done. Quiet boy before I make you one of my experiments." That's not going to happen. You're still in a genjutsu that I placed on you. It was double layered, and the second layer was a genjutsu that slowed time down for the user inside the genjutsu. So what has been 5 minutes? And here has been well over an hour out there, and my team is already at the tower. I figured it was Sasuke you wanted for his eyes or something, so I took precautions. The two teammates I was with earlier were hinged bunchins. I win, you pedophile," he said before dispelling the genjutsu completely and finding that he was in some serious pain. Apparently the brat took the time to give some much-deserved revenge for his victims and beat the shit out of him with his fists without him knowing. He let loose an angry roar into the sky, showing how mad he was. Naruto was at the tower in his bedroom by the window, listening to the roar that filled the forest. He smiled and decided to go see the Hokage about this. Walking to the temporary command post in the tower, he met with the Hokage Ibiki and Anko. The Hokage put up a barrier around them to keep all quiet. "All right. Orochimaru is in the forest." They all blinked at him. "Before what?" "He came after my team in the forest. I smelt him before he met us, and so I knocked both Sasuke and Sakura out and sent them here with my clones with our scroll so we could pass. Also, don't expect many other teams, besides the Leaf and Sand teams, to pass. I had clones trailing them all, but it appears only the Sand team was good enough to get past my clone. My clones gave out spare scrolls to every one of our teams so they could pass." He grinned. "Back up, how did you escape Orochimaru?" "He underestimated me, so I put him in a dual-layered genjutsu, showing everything exactly the same as it was before, and we talked. I told him 5 minutes later after I finished taunting him about the genjutsu, and he tried 3 or 4 times to break it before telling him it was dual-layered. The second layer was meant to slow time down when in the genjutsu, so my clone and him were in it for over an hour whilst I was here, and it was just under 5 minutes in there." He sounded pretty mad when I heard the rage-filled roar across the forest 5 minutes ago. They all just blinked before dismissing him to go sleep or something for the next 4.5 days, so that was ready for the finals or prelims depending on how many arrived. Time skip prelims. All the Leaf teams were present, with the only foreign team being the Suna team with the Ichibi container. He would have to fix that later or inform Sarutobi. If he made it to the finals, it didn't bode well for Konoha as a whole if a foreign Jinchuriki makes it to the finals without being detected as a Jinchuriki. Welcome and congratulations about making it to the finals. Now, without waiting any longer, we will pick teams for the finals in 1 month's time. Hokage-sama, can I interrupt? What is it, hate? Well, I was going to take it from there, so fine. There are too many people, so we are going to have prelims. You will fight whoever your name is drawn against. The matches were being drawn, and Naruto tuned out. Ever since he started training at the age of 4, he began excelling at an extremely fast pace. He hated it. There was no thrill to battle. Only when he battled to protect those he loved did he get the thrill of the match, to face a greater opponent than yourself and come out victorious. He didn't even get this when he fought in the Forest of Death against Orochimaru. Well, not fought, more like tricked. It infuriated him to no end. He had to test his limits. He wanted to know what they were and if he could push past them, but he also wanted to know where this need for battle came from. He presumed it came from his Uchiha blood and holding a 50m tall demon in his stomach. By the time he was paying attention again, he noticed it was Hinata Hyuga versus Niji Hyuga. The match itself was rather dramatic, with Niji obviously hating Hinata and Hinata being too kind to actually hurt Niji, so she lost, and rather badly in the end. Niji actually tried to kill her with several strikes around the chest area, hoping to damage her heart, causing cardiac arrest, but the Jonin stepped in at the last minute to save Hinata from certain death, only to prolong it until proper medical attention was provided. Naruto couldn't be sure, but he's certain that some damage had already been dealt to her. He sighed, not really caring. Gaara the Ichibi container was obviously batshit insane, and he was facing someone equally insane. Rock Lee. Maybe not the same type as insane, but still the match itself was a rather good look into what made Gaara. He had little to no taijutsu or ninjutsu. He controlled his sand and had an automatic defense, although Naruto wasn't sure if the sand was from Ichibi or his family's Kekkei Genkai, since Suna had something similar before. The match shown one big opening to anyone who fought Gaara. A defense that reacts is never absolute. If you get enough speed, then it can't react in time, allowing you to hit the opponent. This was all well and good in theory, but apparently Gaara was a sore loser and had a second layer of sand on his skin to provide extra cover. With it cracked, he was mad. Apparently he was never hurt before, so seeing him take a punch or two was laughable, but it all came to an end when Lee opened the inner gates on his body and shredded his muscles in his legs and lower back, which led to him getting caught by Gaara's sand and crushing his left leg and right arm before his sensei intervened to save his student's life. Tenten faced the Ichibi's sister. Her name was Temari, and she was a wind user, whereas Tenten was a weapons user, both melee and throw-able, meaning she was totally outclassed when it came to fighting, because Temari used her fan to simply swat away the weapons like bugs. In the end, Tenten lost, and painfully, by landing on her iron fan after being tossed in the air. These Sandines were rather brutal, Naruto thought, and it excited him to have the chance at maybe fighting one like himself, albeit less trained. Naruto of Konoha. Naruto's head perked up at that, seeing he was about to fight versus Sasuke Uchiha of Konoha. Naruto grinned, threatened to split his face when he heard Sasuke's name. He had been meaning to beat the shit out of the Uchiha for a while now, and to be able to do it in front of everyone was a plus in his books. Sasuke was already walking down to the arena wearing his patented Uchiha smirk when Naruto was about to jump over the railings before Kakashi grabbed him. Go easy on him, you're obviously going to win, but don't humiliate him too much. Kakashi whispered, so only he heard Naruto sigh. I'll try not to injure him. Naruto jumped over the railings and landed in the arena. I thought you weren't going to come, dope. Naruto just ignored him and stood there with his arms crossed and a small smirk in place on his face. People didn't understand what he was smiling at, but those who knew him understood, those who truly knew him. Activate your Sharingan, Uchiha, I want your best. A simple statement, but enough to cause him to get angry. What right has this dope got to demand his best? What right do you have to demand my best? Your parents probably abandoned you at birth because they knew you were a Dobyu clan-less loser, and your mother was probably some no-name chunin that spread them to easy. Kakashi sighed. Naruto was going to forget what he said now. Sasuke just had to mention his parents, didn't he? You know what, Sasuke, I think it's time you get to know a little bit of truth about me. He closed his eyes whilst the Hokage prayed to God that he wasn't going to do what he thought he was going to do, but his prayers were unanswered as they opened to show a fully matured 3-tomo Sharingan. Everyone gasped and Kiba summed it up in 2 words. The fuck? Sasuke was seething. How do you have those eyes? You don't serve her those eyes. Naruto stood calmly watching Sasuke get more and more mad before simply replying, I got them from my mother. Those who knew his mother was Kushina didn't understand, but others did. I didn't show these eyes in public to get you to stop being such a douche. No, I don't rely on my eyes like you do, you little fool, my foolish cousin. I bought them out to show you these. He said whilst his eyes in front of everyone morphed into his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, even though people didn't know the difference. Another row of gasps from most of the Jonin who knew what those eyes meant to kill your best friend. Now you fool, you will witness the day your life became hell for 72 hours, and if you survive that long I will forfeit. Tsukuyomi. Sasuke's world fell to nothing whilst he was pinned to a cross Sharingan blazing. The clouds and moon were black and the sky was red with crows flying in the background. Fool, you had to mention my mother, didn't you? Now you will pay, but first, do you know where you are? A genjutsu? Yes, and the most powerful genjutsu known to man. This is the ultimate genjutsu provided by the Mangekyo Sharingan. I will not tell you how to get the Mangekyo, and you will never know. I only unlocked it by accident, but to use it causes blindness eventually. However, I don't have that problem. Naruto faded from view and left Sasuke hanging there whilst a voice projected across to him, and here I am God for 72 hours, you are mine to do with what I feel like. All of a sudden scenes started playing in his mind of the Uchiha massacre, of how he walked in on Naruto and Itachi in their Umbu gear and all the dead bodies he saw. When this was finished, the voice spoke again. 71 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds remaining, Sasuke Uchiha. 20 hours later, and his mind is still hanging on strong but weakened severely. Naruto decided to take a different approach to the fight and stops the clips of the massacre. You will now be stabbed for the remaining 52 hours repeatedly with this katana, Naruto stated whilst killing him with the katana, but all of a sudden Sasuke gasped for air as he was tied to the cross again, alive and well. Fool, I am God, and here I chose when you die and when you don't. Another 20 hours passed and he was just barely hanging on. For the last 20 hours you will be tortured by a friend of mine for insulting my mother, he stated whilst Hikari in her giant fox form came forward. Meet Kyuubi no Kitsune. Both Kyuubi and Naruto smiled before Naruto left her to her business. He didn't want to know what sort of shit she got up to in there. The genjutsu dropped and Sasuke screamed like a little girl before collapsing. Foolish little cousin, he said in a cold voice that sent shivers down the spines of most people there. Without even waiting for the announcement of him winning, he shoeshined in a flock of crows back to his seat in the rails and sat down, ignoring all questions posed to him. Kurenai looked his way and gave him a look of regret, which he could only assume was to do with the secret she was holding. He loved her dearly with his life, but they were growing apart recently due to Kurenai holding secrets. He sighed and waited for the rounds to be announced for the tournament in 1 month, but before that happened, Naruto activated his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and used Tsukuyomi on everyone present to make them forget about what he did in his match. He let Kakashi, Kurenai, and the Hokage remember, but everyone else he wiped. Whilst he was doing the Ichibi container, he found that when he entered the mindscape, the Ichibi was there on a very small leash with a 4-year-old Gaara. He sighed. This was obviously the representation of where he started listening to his demon, so he walked past him and told the kid to follow. Both of them walked over the Ichibi before Naruto shone his Sharingan at it, breaking a genjutsu that was placed on him. He thanked him profusely and allowed his host to sleep and return. The older Gaara told him about the invasion and how Orochimaru and the Sand planned to invade during the finals. Naruto could only smile. The thrill may not be there when facing a single enemy, but what would happen when you face an entire army? He couldn't wait. Matches were drawn and he got Neji whilst Gaara got his sister, and a few other unimportant matches were picked. Chapter 9: The Finals. In the last month, Naruto trained harder than he has ever pushed himself for one purpose, and one purpose only: to protect those that were precious to him in the upcoming invasion. He already informed the Hokage about it, and they had agreed to people's various roles in the attack. Flashback: Hokage-sama. Naruto said whilst he bowed with this one word. He had the Hokage worried. Naruto never used respective suffixes like this, which meant something was up and it was serious. Naruto, what's wrong? The Sand and Sound are going to invade. This got an immediate reaction out of the Hokage. What? How do you know this? Remember the prelims? Well, everyone else doesn't. I kind of Tsukuyomi them all into thinking I did something else to beat Sasuke, so they don't remember my Sharingan. However, when I did this to Gaara from the Sand team, I entered his mindscape. We all know he is the Ichibi container and is known for being bloodthirsty, but what you don't know is that for the last 400,500 years Ichibi has been under a powerful genjutsu, making him that way. I entered his mindscape, met a 4-year-old version of Gaara, and freed the Ichibi of the genjutsu. They both thanked me and told me of what they intend. Gaara is now able to sleep as well. I kind of thought something was up anyway, since the Sand sent a Jinchuriki to a foreign nation's Chunin exams, he said with a nonchalant roll of the shoulders. This is very serious. Calm down, old man. Gaara isn't going to fight us, and his siblings won't either, since they are scared shitless of him. I'll leave the Kazekage up to you, but one of my clones will be hinged into a fly on your shoulder should you need backup. I, on the other hand, will be clearing the city of enemies. What do you mean, clear the city of enemies? You're a genin, a strong one, but still a genin. I mean just that ever since I awakened my Eternal Mangekyo, I have had a thrill for battle, but only when it is protecting my loved ones. For some reason I do not know why, and it is utterly infuriating me to know that no matter how much I battle I can't get the thrill. I'm sure Itachi will be having this issue as well, but he keeps his emotions in check better than I. What will I do if you die? Mikoto and Itachi will be grief-stricken, not to mention Ryuga, Kurenai, Genma, and Kakashi. If it gets bad, I will summon the boss of the crows and toads if I get the contract before then. Also, I can use Susanoo in full, which is the ultimate defense of the Mangekyo Sharingan. It looks like an ethereal warrior. I don't use it because when I use it I tend to go overkill, and it stands at 40 m tall, which can be seen by all in the village. Also, as for Kurina missing me, I doubt it. She is hiding something from me, and it is tearing us apart. I wouldn't be surprised if by the time I actually make Chunin, if I still want the date she promised or not. And finally, I grow tired of hiding who I am. I will reveal myself to the world in the aftermath of the invasion to boost morale within our ranks. Fine, but we will look into this thrill for battle thing. It sounds an awful lot like what Madara had. It might be something to do with the Eternal Awakening. He nodded and started to walk away before the Hokage called him back. Your godfather is at the hot springs, so go meet him. He began to walk away once more and was about to reach for the door when he stopped and looked down. You wouldn't happen to know what Kurina is keeping from me, would you, Hokage-sama? He asked in an all too innocent voice. I told you already that I didn't. That's what I thought. He walked out of the room with a sigh. He now had his suspicions of what was being kept from him by using his common sense to come to a conclusion, and if it was what he thought, then he wouldn't be happy and likely never trust anyone outside his family again. End flashback. He spent time with his family that he hadn't been able to in a long while due to missions and being out of the village. His mother heard what he did to Sasuke, and she wasn't pleased. She understood why he did it. After all, he basically called her and her best friend a whore in front of everyone, but that was no excuse. He told both of them of the coming invasion, and his mother agreed that she wouldn't go to the finals since she was meant to be dead, and a Sharingan user would definitely set off some alarms. He told them of his role in the battle, and they were both shocked. Makoto was about to go and hunt Sarutobi down before he explained that he was best suited for this due to his summoned Sharingan and Susanoo. That was somehow more advanced than his brother's, since he could use all 4 arms on it instead of 2 like his brother. He then went on to explain this feeling about fighting he had, and his mother was shocked and started to think that her son was beginning to like killing, which was quickly batted away from her mind as he explained it only happened after he awakened his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. He had asked his brother if he had the same issue from time to time, and he agreed, but since he was an Umbu captain he got battles quite regularly and knew better to keep his emotions in check than him. He promised to be careful when he was fighting. He understood that his family would be at a loss if he suddenly died. The day after the meeting with the Hokage, Naruto went and met his godfather, which was an interesting meeting to say the least. Flashback. Naruto was walking to the hot springs to look for his godfather. From what he knew about him from Makoto, Itachi, and Sarutobi, he understood that he was a huge pervert, and wrote the Ika Ika books that Kakashi read. He honestly didn't care about that because all older ninja have their vices that allow them to deal with the stress of fighting, but so God help him if he's ever peaked on someone he loved. His thoughts were suddenly brought to an abrupt halt when he heard a slight giggle coming from the cliffs overlooking the female portion of the hot springs. He smiled evilly before sneaking behind him and kicking the pervert in the balls, which unfortunately for him made him lose balance and fall into the bathhouse. He heard the sounds that could be described as the righteous feminine fury beating down on his godfather against his better judgment. He peeked over the edge and saw several of Konoha's most wanted women beating the crap out of his godfather. Kurina looked up from the sanding to see from where he fell and saw Naruto smiling down, trying to hold in a laugh. It was obvious to her what happened to Jiraiya, so she left without even saying a word to Naruto, or thanking him for stopping his godfather from peeking on her and her friends. 5 minutes later, Naruto got tired of waiting for the Gama-Sennin before walking into the female side of the bathhouse and dragging him out, carefully placing the women under a genjutsu so they wouldn't know he was there, and grabbed the pervert. Splashing some water over the badly beating Sannin, he shot up straight and immediately looked for who pushed him in and, more importantly, who kicked him in the balls. Whoa there, Arrow Sannin, calm down. Arrow Sannin? Do you know who I am, kid? Jiraiya is the Gama-Sennin and my supposed godfather. That's right, I am Jiraiya the Gallant, the Toad Sage, and your godfather. About 30 seconds passed before what? Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Uchiha, he said with a smirk whilst he activated his Sharingan at the 3-tone mode level. A minute or two passed whilst he was looking at his so-called godson that he had never met. So you're Minato's kid? And Kushina's? He nodded. Then how in blue blazes do you have a Sharingan? And fully matured at that? He sighed. Mom was barren due to Kyuubi's seal being rushed, so Makoto Kaa-san gave her one of her eggs, which was implanted into her, and then my parents went down and dirty, and boom, here I am. As to the Sharingan, I activated it when I was falling to my death off of the Hokage mountain when I was 5 due to no one being there to look after me like my godfather should have been, he said in a slightly agitated voice. Jiraiya wilted under his gaze. How are you alive? I fell to my death and met Kyuubi, who isn't evil or anything, just misunderstood. I came back to life with a sense of betrayal of the village and activated my Mangekyo, to which I later swapped eyes with Itachi and have the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Uh-huh. Now on to business. I don't care that you weren't here, because I did get a chance to have family at one point in my life, and I still don't care if you don't want to be in my life, because I can honestly say from the bottom of my heart I just don't give a shit. But there are two things I would like from you, and one of them is needed if you want to be in my life. The first one is that in my father's will I was to sign the Toad summoning contract along with my Crow one, and the second thing that I need if you want to be in my life is training. Being the marvelous spy master you are, you should know that we are going to be invaded, and I will be on the front taking out the enemies, hopefully before they have chance to actually do damage to Konoha. I am strong, probably the strongest of my age group, and almost stronger than Itachi when it comes to Genjutsu alone. My Taijutsu is nothing to scoff at, and my Ninjutsu, well, let's just say I leave shadow clones learning Jutsu from my father library daily to learn and master. Okay, Brett, no need to be so apathetic all the time, and for what it's worth, I received a letter from Sarutobi saying you were dead, hence I haven't been here in the last 13 years. I doubt the old man would have done that, but his advisors have his stamp as well, and since I hadn't set them straight at the time, then it is highly likely that they forged it. Jiraiya growled openly at that before taking a scroll off his back and opening it in front of his godson. This is the Toad summoning contract, sign it with your blood. He nodded and bit his finger before writing his name, Naruto Namikaze, since that what he went by on scrolls like this. Jiraiya nodded before taking his godson to an isolated training ground and telling him to do the summoning ritual as usual, but think about toads instead of crows, since he had two contracts. His chakra control was much better than what it was at the time of summoning the crow boss and his brother, but that didn't stop him from majorly overcalculation the amount of chakra needed to summon Gamabunta, the chief toad. The entire training ground and the one next to it was covered in smoke. He thanked the gods that it was empty. When the smoke cleared, the entire Toad clan was there, including the two elders that taught Jiraiya Sage Mode. He openly gaped at the display of chakra. Jiraiya boy, why have you summoned us? Me? Do you honestly think I have enough chakra to summon the entire Toad clan, even down to the last tiny tadpole? Well, I hope so, since I only know you as our summoner. Oh, my bad? It was me that summoned you all. Every Toad looked to the right to see a 13-year-old version of what Minato looked like and gasped, what? Do I have something on my face? No, Gaki, you look like your father. Oh, sup? He waved to them. Father? Fukasaku finally spoke. Meet Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Uchiha. Minato's and Kushina's brat. I let him sign the contract because it was in Minato's will for him too. So you want to be tested for the rites of summoning? Yes, please. No need, Gaki, you can summon us. My name is Gamabunta. I am the chief toad, and I was your father's familiar. My son Gamakichi will be yours. A small red and orange toad sprang forth and landed at his feet. Yo. Thanks for letting me summon your clan, but you guys should go. I think the chakra usage and smoke has attracted some unwanted attention. He smiled, they nodded back, and all dispersed before he turned to a fish-looking Jiraiya. What? What do you mean, what? You just summoned the entire Toad clan. Do you know how much chakra that takes? Nope. He said in a happy tone. About 2.5 times the amount of chakra I and the Hokage have. He said flatly. Oh well, now what about training? Fine, Gaki, activate your Sharingan and copy this technique. He went through several hand seals before saying Ninpu. Hari Jizo, his hair extended around him and covered him in a defensive type of barrier. This is a defensive barrier I made with hair. It can hold anything lower than AB rank jutsu, and it is also extremely useful for taijutsu defense. He let the technique go before going through some more hand seals and saying Ninpu, Hari Jigaku, and needles of hair shot towards a tree opposite. This was meant to be used with the first technique I shown you, but can be used on its own obviously. Now get and let me do some research. Come find me if you need any help or any more techniques. Naruto nodded before thanking him and leaving him to his research. End flashback. After his eventful meeting with his godfather, Naruto decided to spend the rest of the month working on his jutsu recreation for the upcoming invasion. He firmly believed that these jutsu will help save his and his friends' lives. He was in the library at one point while his clones were, and one of them was at the desk his father used before him, writing down jutsu theory before becoming stuck on a particular hand seal sequence. Becoming increasingly frustrated, the clone banged his head repeatedly on the desk only for something to fall on his head and dispel. Naruto got the memories and went to check what it was. Apparently above his father's desk there was an engraved leaf insignia like on the headbands that the ninja wear, and the middle bit of the leaf fell off and landed on the clone's head. Naruto didn't like the idea that part of his father's library was falling to pieces, so he went to put it back but found inside 2 scrolls. Genuinely surprised, he pulled out the scrolls to find his father's legendary techniques, the Rasengan and the Oration. Naruto took note that they were extremely well hidden, apart from the fact that the little hole had no seals active over it, and he had to admit it didn't matter because he would have never thought to have looked there. Placing the Oration back in the hole, he left some clones to work on the Rasengan, hoping to get it down within the 2 weeks that were left before the finals. A clone dispelled after reading the instructions, and he couldn't stop laughing. Apparently his father had made this jutsu and explained it with children in mind to allow them to understand how to create the ball of chakra. I mean, seriously, who uses water balloons? Step 1 and 2 were both about using chakra and learning how to manipulate it into a shape. He finished these quite quickly due to his elemental practice with both Raiton and Keton chakra, needing something similar for the advanced exercises he came up with. Step 3 was combining Step 1 and 2, which Naruto found quite difficult, like looking left and right at the same time, and it irked him to no end. He eventually found a way around this by using a shadow clone to perform Step 2 whilst he performed Step 1, but wasn't happy with it due to the fact that Itachi had drilled into him perfection when it came to jutsu. He told his mother and brother about finding the scrolls for his father's jutsu, and they were both happy for him. His brother asked him if he could learn the Rasengan, but said that the Oration was his father's legacy to him, and him alone until his children were old enough. Naruto agreed, but was sad that he didn't want to learn Oration. However, he understood where his brother was coming from. With 2 days left and about 400 balloons for Stage 3 wasted, Naruto finally finished the Rasengan, but not without the help of an army of clones. He had to give his old man credit. He was a genius in every sense of the word, and while some of his father's genius passed him in certain areas such as jutsu theory and creation, he did not think he was on the same level as his father, but felt that he made up for it in sheer determination. Finally, the day of the finals arrived. He was standing in the center of the arena with the rest of the finalists. His brother was in the stands with Sasuke, and he had a small smile of pride on his face watching him. His promotion was a definite thing. The exams were just formality. Being the genjutsu expert he was, in knowing the plans for the invasion ahead of time allowed him to see that there were several jonin in the stadium under a genjutsu henge, so the enemies couldn't tell them apart from random civilians. However, if you were a genjutsu specialist, you could tell that there was a genjutsu in place over certain civilians. He was brought out of his thoughts when a cough drew the attention of finalists. The same sickly proctor that was in the prelims was standing in front of them looking as sick as ever. Naruto was wondering if he faked his illness like he himself faked being dead last. Apparently, he was scheduled to track the Sanjonin known as Baki. Before Naruto gave the Hokage knowledge on the invasion, he would have been killed due to the fact that he couldn't hide from enemies thanks to his cough, and that would have made his friend Yugao sad. Luckily, he was called off it, and Umbu were assigned thanks to Naruto's information, to which Yugao thanked him continuously until he said there was no need to thank him. Welcome to the finals of the Chunin exams. Look alive, you guys are the main attraction. The Hokage stood up, trying his best not to ignore the Fukazakage that was beside him to deliver his speech to begin the Chunin exam finals. Welcome one and all to the Chunin exams finals. He received a roar of approval from the crowd. Now that I have said welcome, let's enjoy the exams. Please do not leave your seats until the interval, and even then do not leave the stadium. Thank you and enjoy, he said in a happy tone before sitting back down. Alright, you heard the Hokage. All of you except Niji Hyuga and Naruto Uzumaki go and wait in the contestants' box. 2 minutes later, and Naruto and Niji were alone on the field staring at each other. Are both fighters ready? He got 2 nods. Begin. Nothing happened for a moment before Niji smirked and said, "You should give up. Dead last. Fate has decided that I am to be victorious." In a matter-of-fact tone, like he knew he was going to win. I hate it when people underestimate me, Naruto said plainly in a monotone voice that reminded several jonins of Itachi Uchiha. Niji raised an eyebrow. Fate has determined me to win from birth. I am to be a genius selected by fate, and you are the dead last selected by fate. Mention fate once more, and I'm going to test out a new genjutsu on you that will be extremely painful, he said with slightly narrowed eyes. The jonin that knew of his hidden strength and penchant for genjutsu cringed. They all knew that he had skills in the art that surpassed Itachi at his age, and even Kurenai now. Fate, as he didn't get to finish, Naruto determined his genjutsu level to be high enough, and Hikari explained that he should be able to cast genjutsu with eye contact without the Sharingan now, like he does with jutsu, depending if he memorized the chakra flow or not for the jutsu. Naruto locked eyes without the Sharingan and calmly stated Megan. Nor no Torai seconds passed as the crowd watched on and saw Neji with a glossy look in his eyes showing he is currently under a genjutsu and Naruto standing there with his arms crossed before Neji starts screaming and holding his head in pain. Those that knew of the cage bird seal that was branded on every branch member knew what it looked like, but the Hyuga knew it was a genjutsu. After a minute or two of screaming he stopped the genjutsu and Neji was out cold on the floor drooling. Brutal but effective, I warned him not to mention fate. He said in nothing more than a whisper as he was announced the winner. Everyone in the contestant box except Gaara looked at him strangely. What? I warned him, and genjutsu can be damn painful. He ignored all the matches until the second round and heard his name called again. Apparently he was fighting Gaara. They both looked at each other and nodded before sunshining to the field in their respective flickers of both sand and crows. Many were surprised to see that he knew Itachi's crow Shunshin and wondered if he was training the boy, but he refused to answer questions even to Sasuke, who was trying still to get Itachi to train him. Naruto looked into the eyes of Gaara, his Jinchuriki brother, in all but blood. Let's give them a good show, brother. Gaara actually smiled, scaring the shit out of the Suna team. Agreed, brother, let's see how one does against 9. Jonin, who knew of the plan but didn't know of what Gaara contained, widened their eyes, and civilians that were smart enough to pick up the reference hoped that he would kill their local demon. Just as they were about to begin, feathers started to fall from the sky. Apparently Orochimaru ordered the invasion to be moved up in time due to his previous experience with Naruto in the Forest of Death. Looks like we have to wait, brother. Contain your family and friends and try your best to contain Sunanines. I'm going to the front and I will try not to kill Sunanines since Orochimaru is behind this. Gaara nodded in understanding before sunshining to the contestants' box and wrapping a sand dome around his siblings and Jonin-sensei, only to shunshin off again to place more Suna ninja in the dome. The Jonin under the Genjutsu hinge released it and started fighting. Both Sound and Sand Ninja both were falling rather quickly due to the fact that Konoha employed its rather famous teamwork and utilized the element of surprise. Naruto appeared in front of Kakashi and the other Jonin. I have orders, Kakashi, and you know about Gaara, so I'll be off then to get lost on the road to life, he said before disappearing in a crackle of lightning for speed. He developed 2 different Shunshins. One of them was developed for speed and one of them was developed for distraction, hence the lightning and crows. Naruto reached a roof far from the action before going through several hand seals and saying Kuchiyos no Jutsu, Karasu no Senshi Raiden, Crow Warrior Brigade. 100 poofs of smoke appeared before him and crows wearing different sets of armor stood looking at their summoner. Naruto-sama, why have you summoned the entire brigade? My home is being invaded. You are to search the village and attack any ninja wearing sand or sound headbands. Kill them if you want, it doesn't matter to me. Yes, sir. The lead crow practically shouted in glee. He hardly ever got his entire brigade to fight together anymore. The crows all flew away in different directions before Naruto himself sensed a large amount of chakra being used near the main gate. He surmised that it was being used to summon something since it was about the size needed for a boss summon or a large summon. Rushing to the front gate, Naruto found it slightly unnerving how the village was empty of shinobi except in the stadium, and then he remembered the 3-stage plan that the Hokage came up with for any invasion. Stage 1, secure prisoners. Stage 2, evacuate civilians with Genin whilst Chunin evacuate VIPs. Stage 3, retaliate. Naruto wasn't going to let them into the village because of the amount of damage a summons that size could do, so before they would enter he would have to take care of them. He was starting to feel the thrill of battle. He was going to enjoy the battle, but not the killing itself. However, that was the life of a shinobi. Arriving at the gate, he shunshined to the top of the arch so he could see the approaching threat. There were 3 snakes the size of a large train. He sighed and pumped enough chakra to summon the big 3 as Jiraiya called them Gamabunta, Gamahiro, and Gamaken. Kuchiyos no Jutsu. Naruto was standing atop Gamabunta's head. All right, boys, listen up. We are being invaded, and I figured you guys would like some snakeskin wallets. Let's go show those fools why you do not mess with our home, shall we? What do you say, Bunta, Hero, and Kin? Drinks are on me tonight? Gaki, I like you more and more each time you summon me. I am ungraceful, but I will do my best. I will try to help you, but I am clumsy. With that said, all 3 toads jumped towards the snakes. Gamaken dropped from the sky, quickly stabbing the snake on the left with his dual swords, one through the head and one through the tail, not giving it a chance to dispel before it died. Gamahiro landed on top of the snake of the left, causing it to dispel, and Gamabunta landed in front of the snake. Bunta, give me oil. Right. Bunta sprayed a large stream of oil at the snake, which was too surprised of the sudden entrance of the chief toad to do anything, but Naruto created a stream of fire that lit the oil, burning the snake alive, forcing it to dispel. "Bunta, you and your brothers can stay and watch this if you want," he said as they all looked on towards the army a mile away of 1,000 strong. "Alright Gaki, I want to see what you're made of anyway, just don't die, you still owe me sake." "I knew you cared, boss," Naruto said with a small smile before jumping down from the toad and started walking towards the enemy's army. He felt thrilled to be able to battle such a large number on his own, but a part of him felt sad that he would have to kill so many today. "Forgive me for what I am about to do. I only take solace in the fact that this is for my home and you must be destroyed if it is to remain safe. Forgive me, Kurenai." Even after all stuff he thought she was hiding, he still loved her with all his heart and couldn't bear to think of her looking at him like a monster for what was about to happen. He deactivated his resistance seals and chakra weights to give him a speed boost. "Hikari-chan, you are with me, right? I have always been with you and will be with you always, Naruto. Thank you for staying with me, Hikari. I am kind of scared at the moment. I mean, sure, I have faced several strong ninja and came out on top, but this is a goddamn army. I hope my father and mother are watching me from above, for my legend is about to truly begin. I'm sure they are proud of you, Naruto." He smiled as he felt her watching his every move, ready to lend him chakra if needed. He placed his stoic facade and continued walking towards the army that stopped as soon as they saw someone approaching. They laughed when they saw a boy no more than 14 standing in front of them with his arms crossed. 3 boss-ranked summons watched from behind, standing in all their glory, attracting attention from several jonin who have started with stage 3 of the plan. They would be here in less than 10 minutes. A jonin from Suna stepped forwards from the army and laughed. "They sent a boy to fight a war? What kind of village is this?" "I have one question," he said, making them laugh at him still. "And what would that be?" "Do you want to dance?" he said before grinning and activating his Sharingan, causing several of the army to falter before they even start. He started to walk towards the army before picking up speed and eventually running at full speed towards the army. "I want to dance," he said as he met the first man in the army, quickly snapping his neck. Using his superior speed from months of training with his resistance seals and chakra weights, he made quick work of the smaller cannon fodder of the army. He was being brutally efficient when it came to killing the enemy because he didn't want to waste energy that he was sure he would need. Jumping over about 20 enemies before landing with his feet on an enemy-ne's shoulders and twisting his neck to snap it, he fell forwards and used his weight to grab 2 kunai from the enemy's pouch. Sharingan eyes ablaze, twitching at all the information he was taking and predicting several movements from the enemy, allowing him to react. He threw the kunai he stole and plunged them into 2 enemies' chests. He didn't have time to react before a sound nin threw a kunai with explosive note at him, hoping to hurt him. With the foresight of the Sharingan, he saw the kunai coming and caught it at the last minute in mid-air before sticking the tag on an enemy and kicking him into a crowd and throwing the kunai back to the sound nin, leaving the tag to explode near the ninja's friends. Whilst this was going on, a crowd of jonin were forming by the summons. They watched as this 13-year-old boy systematically destroyed around 60 shinobi in under 10 minutes and was not even looking winded. "Holy shit, look at the Gaki go!" came the voice of one Anko Mitarashi, getting nods from several other jonin, including Ibiki, Kakashigai, and Kurenai, who were finished at the stadium and came to hold the gate whilst sending their genin teams away to the shelters. Kakashi watched on with Itachi as Naruto got blown back from the crowd by a fan-wielding Suna nin. Kakashi and Itachi's first instincts were to run to him and help him up, but the sword of Gamabunta stopped them in their paths. "You will not pass. The Gaki wanted this, and you will get it." "Why?" he said, something about people getting in the way. Itachi and Kakashi stepped back whilst watching Naruto stand up and wipe the dust off of his skin. He had long since lost his t-shirt in the fighting and was now bare-chested in front of the army, standing defiantly. "I've been waiting for a chance to use this 4 months, with 200 clones working 12 hours a day to recreate this jutsu that has been lost to time itself. Bear in mind that it isn't complete yet, but here we go," he said whilst going through several hand seals and gathering enough compressed chakra in his lungs to summon Gamabunta twice before saying Katan. Goku Mikaku. A stream of fire sprayed out of his mouth, and when it reached 5 meters away from him, it suddenly started to decompress and widen and grow in height till there was a wall of flames 15 meters wide that felt so intense that several of the jonin had to look away from it. 200 men in a matter of minutes. Destroyed. Annihilated. Decimated. The Konoha jonin watched on in awe and a little fear as they saw a legendary jutsu born anew in a boy that they all assumed was a demon. That was the worst possible combination. Anko whistled in admiration at the display of power. Hikari-chan, how much chakra do I have left? About 2/3Ds. Using that much chakra in the jutsu had amazing results, but cost you some of your reserves. I will refill them when you get to 30%, otherwise it would bring you unneeded fatigue. Arigato Hikari-chan. Now Lesson 1. Taijutsu is finished. Lesson 2. Ninjutsu is currently in progress. Lesson 3 is yet to start, and for an added bonus, why not include Lesson 4, which is Kenjutsu? The remaining army, which was about 750 enemies, were looking at him like he was a madman. They knew no one that had this much chakra or this skilled at his age, but they would be damned if they would give up. Their country was on the line, and as soon as this boy was out of the way, they would storm the lead and take it. Too bad they hadn't noticed a group of jonins by the summons yet. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, a clone, appeared beside him, and both nodded to each other and started the hand seals necessary to perform the jutsu they had in mind. Katan, Karya and Futon. De Tapa, a dragon, was breathed out by the original, whilst the clone created an extremely strong gust of wind to increase the dragon's strength from lower rank to higher rank. Some of the army was unprepared for what was coming, and it took out a group of 30 nin, once again causing havoc within the enemy's ranks. Last part of Lesson 2 for now, guys. Prepare yourselves. Hikari-chan, prepare please. This is mostly going to drain me to about 25%, so if you could refill me, that would be great. No problem, Naruto-kun, she said without noticing the kun suffix she added by accident. Kakashi had wide eyes at what he was seeing Naruto do. This was turning into a slaughter rather than an invasion, and the combination jutsu he saw Naruto use was amazing. Most jonin don't have the harmony to do attacks like that, but he supposed that when you do the attack with a clone of yourself, timing wasn't really all that important. His eyes widened even further when he heard Naruto's next jutsu. He wasn't aware that Naruto had managed to upgrade this. Raitun, Tajiraianzu Roa around his body. Lightning seemed to shoot off of him, and he shot both palms forward in a thrusting motion to begin the jutsu. 10 massive lightning lions shot out of his palm and looked towards the army, before charging a good space apart. Jumping into the army, the lions dispersed, leaving the shocking effect that killed a good 30 people per lion and leaving others stunned. A good 400 men were left standing from the original 1,000 that approached the gates. Hikari-chan, refill please. Already happening, Naruto-kun, she said with neither noticing the suffix again. Naruto heard cheers from behind him and turned around to see around 150 jonin looking at him and what was left of the army. He heard a collective gasp from them. It took him a minute or two to figure out, but he realized that he was using his Sharingan and didn't have any genjutsu covering them. He sighed. Ah shit. Cat's out of the bag, Naruto. No shit. He sighed again before turning back to the army. Lesson 2, Ninjutsu complete. Lesson 3, Genjutsu commence. He looked over the army and cast a wide area genjutsu that would eat up his chakra like a bitch. Since it was spread so wide, he created it to take advantage of a genjutsu that someone had already made. It would be dual layered, with the first layer showing the opponent's teammates turning into a clone of the caster, and the second layer would activate a subtle genjutsu that someone made a long time ago called Megan Higamozo no Jutsu. The two layers fuse to become one big genjutsu, which forces the recipient of the genjutsu to think that they are being attacked by clones of themselves, when really it's just their teammates under genjutsu. They forget to check thanks to the second layer of genjutsu, which induces a bout of paranoia, making them think they are being betrayed by anyone. Megan, Jinsei no Uragiri, he said loud enough for the jonin by the summons to hear. Itachi smirks as they all watch the sand and sound turn on each other, trying to kill their enemies that have infiltrated their ranks. Itachi chose to explain this genjutsu since no one except him and Naruto knew about it. This genjutsu is a genjutsu that he created. When he was younger, he decided that it is a technique not to be used against a comrade. He made it purely for turning enemies against each other. He thinks about genjutsu from outside the box, so to speak. Instead of layering genjutsu like most jonin do, he creates the layers and merges them together, making it harder for them to break, and only he knows how to do this. I know the theory of how to do it as well, but I can't. He is better at genjutsu than me. This technique makes the enemy think that their ranks are infiltrated by shadow clones before they become paranoid because of the second layer of genjutsu, which utilizes a genjutsu created long ago called Megan Higamozo no Jutsu. They forget to break out of it due to the second layer attacking them with paranoia, and soon they all turn on each other. By the time Itachi had finished explaining the genjutsu, there were only 70 men left. He decided to stop the genjutsu and move on to the added lesson of kenjutsu. Men were shouting about how they killed their own friends, and only now did they realize they were in a genjutsu. Congratulations to those of you that are left. You have survived the standard 3 combat situations that I was taught by my previous senseis. Now this would be all well and good, but I decided to add an extra lesson today to explain why I earned my nickname as Konoha's Red Devil Kenjutsu. So without further ado, welcome to class lesson 4, Kenjutsu commence. Unsheathing both chakra sabers slowly with one in reverse grip whilst the other was held forwardly, he passed his chakra through the blades and made the glow visibly blood-red. The Jonin stood by the summons, amazed by the weapons. Chakra sabers were really rare nowadays since they were hard to make and even harder to find the metals for them. User used to be a key supplier for chakra sabers before it fell. Wasting no more time, he sprinted at high Jonin speeds before decapitating 3 and slitting the throats of 2 others. Dodging under the wind-enhanced kunai from Asuna, Naruto quickly used his speed to slice at key points on the body to make the ninja bleed out quickly. This continued for 10 minutes. Naruto would use his speed and built-up flexibility from his training to weave through the enemies before slicing at an unshielded artery or stabbing them in the livers through the back. When all was said and done, one man stood away from Naruto begging for mercy. You will go back to your precious Sunagakure and you will tell them why it is a bad idea to attack my home. I will lay waste to Suna, should they consider this again, and I will not stop until I have torn Suna asunder. Do you understand me? The man nodded quickly before turning around and fleeing. The world would know why attacking his home was bad. They would know how far he would go to protect those he cared for, and they would know that there was a Sharingan user besides Itachi Kakashi and his foolish little cousin left in the world. He sighed before turning to the Jonin that were half a mile away with the summons. He started to walk away from the massacre that took place and left the bodies. When he managed to get away from the corpses, he stared at the Jonin before activating his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and turning to face the aftermath of the battle site. Amaterasu black flames covered the corpses, burning them till nothing remained but ashes. He sheathed his sabers and started walking towards the Jonins. The last thing he remembered before he blacked out was Kakashi and Itachi calling his name before he fell face first on the ground. He remembered thinking about how Kurenai didn't even look at him when he collapsed. He would have to figure things out between them before their relationship went any further. She was starting to hurt him quite badly, and he had been hurt too many times to not intervene anymore.
Thank you for your views, likes, subscriptions, and overall support of my ongoing efforts to bring great content to all of you. Check out my Patreon for more mature fanfiction. The link is in the description and like everywhere on my channel.